Let's go. Welcome to the basement. Yo, it's safer down here, cause that 100 flow will leave you on the pavement. And most of y'all like, wait a minute. The stuff that I be thinking is the stuff that Timmy out here boldly saying. Bow your heads, close your eyes, say a prayer. God got purpose for your life, stay prepared. We went viral and we didn't know who cared. Shout out to all of y'all that clicked subscribe and shared. Hey, we are on our way. Deathbed confessions, this is all I'll say. Like my last $10, this is all I'll pay. The basement's all inclusive, this an all I'll stay. Believers, church hurt, atheists, agnostics, deconstructionists, and whatever your other optics. Press B and let's see what can be when we ask the Holy Spirit to come between you and me.
Welcome to The Basement, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Tim Ross. I love you guys so much. To all my basement dwellers, thank you for pressing B. Literally, pressing B. I put this shirt on today, and my kids literally have been poking me in the chest all day. I'm pressing B, I'm pressing B, I'm pressing B. Noah, who just turned 12, shout out to my Noah. He just turned 12, and he pressed the B and was like, nothing has happened yet. And then he's like, I think 80,000 people are going to run through our door because I pressed the B on your chest. Can we shout out 80,000 subs on YouTube? I mean, can we also praise God for like iTunes and Spotify? Like whether you're watching or listening, first of all, what are we even doing? No, honestly, what are we even doing? It's been 3 months.
Right.
What are we even doing? I have no idea what we're doing. But whatever we're doing, we're being obedient and we're just doing it. So shout out to Tome, who believed in this before we had one sub, right? Thank you, Tome, for sponsoring us and believing in us. And, I have a course on there called Peace of Mind. You can go to thepeaceofmind.com. And Michelle Williams and I put something out that is going to help you with your mental health. And so I'm just telling you to, don't buy a couple of lattes for a month. Get $100, scrape it up, and you got it. Go scrape up $100 and do the whole course. You can do like half the course for like $50, but pay the whole thing, right? It's like 33 courses, 33 sessions. And I guarantee you on the other side, Michelle and I have spent thousands of dollars on our mental health, and we know everybody can't do that. So we've tried to distill all the years of therapy that we've received into something that I believe the masses can have. And so go to thepeaceofmindcourse.com and get your mind right. That's all I can say. Get your mind right.
Across all platforms, these are the human beings that have committed to being in the basement.
Wait, hold on, bro.
What?
Are you serious?
Across all platforms.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Fam.
All right, so Hector just showed me a number, and I just, I'm looking at the number, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe his calculations are off. Maybe he hit the wrong decimal. But he just said across all of our platforms, which would be YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, 266,000 people. It's ridiculous. Okay, so you got to understand something about me. When I see numbers, I see people. When I think numbers, I think names. When I think names, I think souls. When I think souls, I think eternity. When I think eternity, I think God.
Right.
So I mean that's very sobering. I'm gonna have to move on from that because I'm a emo and I'll start crying. So I don't know if you TikTok us or Instagram us or YouTube us or Spotify us or iTunes us, but just thank you. And I'm trying to say that before my voice starts cracking. So, hey, this is a dope day for me. It's a very special day for me because my guest today is Tim Rivers.
So,
and for those of you all that don't know, Tim Rivers is my successor. as the lead pastor of Embassy City Church. And so, bro, first of all, welcome.
Thank you, bro. I'm so honored, humbled, excited to be here. So much so that I talked to a guy over the weekend, and he knows about the transition, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, and he's a basement fan. He's a dweller.
Okay.
He's like, man, so when you gonna get on the basement? And I said, dude, we cooking it up like pretty soon.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, man, I'm not sure if I should be more excited about being on the basement or becoming lead pastor of Embassy. Hey, but this is what he hit me with. Oh, definitely the basement.
What? That's hilarious.
And then he was like, I'm kidding. I was like, man, no, for real though. Like, it's an honor to be on the basement, like in the basement. Of course, I've been in the basement.
Please tell
with
the people.
you.
Please tell the people.
You know, for 3+ years.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
we started in the basement.
That's exactly right.
And I've grown a ton in the basement.
Yep.
So actually seeing 266,000 individuals connecting to something that's been a reality for a few of us,
Yeah.
right, is just awesome.
That's surreal, bro. That's really surreal. Bro, I want people to get to know you.
Yeah.
Like I want them to have context to you. I want them to understand who you are, how you are, the way you are. And so I have to act like I don't know you for a minute.
Yeah, that's cool.
And just ask you for like the River's origin story.
Yeah.
Like where'd you come from? How'd you get here? Like I want to talk about all the things. This might be a 3-hour pod. Alert, this might be a 3-hour pod. If it is, fine. If it's not, it's all good. My apologies to the East Coast that like has like a 17-hour day because they try to stay awake doing, you know, with the pod. I love you, East Coast.
Yeah.
I love y'all. And England and all the people that are going ahead to the East. So
Word.
yeah, like just start, bro. Give us where Tim is from.
Okay. Well, you know, it's always an interesting one when someone's like, hey, where are you from? I live in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
But my origin story is Germany.
Yep.
So dad from East Texas goes to Germany. Military takes him there. While he's there, he gets out because he loves Germany. He meets Jesus at a church. And then my mom, she's from Sri Lanka. During the same period of time, which is literally halfway from each country, is Germany. So
What?
Literally halfway. Halfway. So Sri Lanka to Germany, United States to Germany is literally halfway.
Okay. Thanks for the geography.
You know what I'm
lesson.
saying?
I'm growing already.
And if you
Thanks,
don't know
Pastor. I'm already learning from my pastor. This is amazing.
Well, so she was a Buddhist, devout Buddhist, 19 years old, just wanted to visit Germany because she had some friends there. So she goes there, and while she's there, she loses her passport, which is her only form of identification.
Wow.
And so her friend, who was in Germany, had already become a Christian. And so when my mom loses her passport, she's obviously distraught. Doesn't know, you know, what she's going to do. So her friend that had become a Christian said, hey, I'm going to pray for you that God helps you find your passport. And when he does, like, let me know. And so my mom, who was a devout Buddhist, was like, okay, great. So she hadn't found it for several days. So she decides, hey, I'm going to give this Jesus guy a try. So she prays, Lord, if you help me find my passport, I'll go to church. So the next day,
Let's just slow down a little bit. I want to take this a little bit slower because I'm already in love with your mom for like not committing her whole life.
Right.
She's like, hey, if you help me find this,
right. She would test it.
I'll go to your house.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying I want to date you. I'm not even saying I want to give my life to you.
Exactly.
But I'll go to your house and check you out.
Well, she had no context.
Yeah, for
Jesus.
sure. I
You know
love
what I'm saying?
it.
It's like
I love it. I
desperate
love the
times,
honesty.
right.
Yeah.
So she prays. The next day, she hears the knock on her door, opens the door, and there's an envelope. She opens the envelope, and it has a just one of those pick your mail up from the mail office sheets, or piece of paper. So she takes it to the mail office. Now remember, she has no ID to even get the package from the post office. She just has the slip.
Yeah.
So she hands them the slip. They give her a manila envelope, and she runs out of the post office, opens up her passport.
Get out of here, fam.
No return address, no number, no person, nothing.
What?
Yeah. So she ends up going to church. Well, it's the church that my dad got saved in.
Get out of here. In Germany.
In Germany. Yep. And so that's how they met.
Get out of here, dude.
Yeah. And so they lived as German civilians. My mom decided, obviously, to stay. They got married. And then, so I was born there in a little town called Leonberg. And, I grew up there until I was 9.
So German is your first language?
It is. Yeah. I went to the 3rd grade in Germany.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm ESL fan.
Yeah.
ESL.
When we first moved here, my English was really broke.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Because we normally spoke German. Around the house, obviously, all of our friends were German, all that stuff.
Okay, hold on, bro. Hold on. Your dad is from East Texas.
That's right. Rusk, East Texas.
Oh, my God. That is Easty.
Right.
That ain't even East. That's Easty, Texas.
It's a tiny little town.
Dude, Rusk. I've seen Rusk.
Right.
Okay, dude. And it's Rusk with a K, y'all. He ain't from Rust.
Right.
It's Rusk. Right? All right, so, okay. So your dad, born and raised, East Texas.
Right.
Easty, Texas.
Easty.
Rusk.
Yes.
Gets to Germany and just adopts the language? Because most people would be like, oh, I'm in German and I can pick up a few syllables, but because that's no disrespect to your native tongue.
Right.
It's a crunchy.
It is.
It's a crunchy language.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a.
Right. Alphabetically, it's the same, though. A through Z. And some of the words are similar.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad was committed. Though? Yeah, like in structure. I would say in structure.
In structure. You know okay, I was about to say, I've seen some German words. They are crunchy.
Right. Well, like house and house. Or
H-A-U-S.
Freund and friend. Like, they're similar in that way.
Okay.
So, yeah, but my dad, he loves.
We got some people in Germany, though. So, will you please shout out somebody?
Hallo, wie geht's dir? Ich bin ja so. We may have to edit this, bro. Like, now I'm like literally forgetting my German. We're so glad that you're here. I'm interpreting for myself mentally. Es hat ganz viel Spaß, dass du hier mit mir uns zu sein und Gott segne dich. There.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I know somebody in Germany is putting the flag in the chat right now. That's awesome.
Raise the flag. But don't judge me because I left when I was 9.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. You've been here a long time.
Yeah. So that's the origin story, bro.
Wow, dude.
Then we moved here in '96 to Dallas for a few years.
All right, so let's deal with this right now.
Okay.
It's the year I gave my life to Jesus.
What part of the year?
January 14th, 1996.
Wow, that's wild. So we moved here in July of '96.
Yep. I gave my life to Jesus January 14th of 1996.
That's crazy, bro.
So how old were you?
9.
You were 9. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Because we're 11 years apart or 12 years apart.
12 years.
We're 12 years apart. Right. Yeah. So you would have just been turning 9.
I just turned 9. I turned 9 in May.
Yep.
And then we moved in the end of July.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of parallels, bro. Like even this past Sunday when you were preaching, you said that you used to hit the tape recorder and preach. Well, me and my brother used to do that all the time.
What?
Yes. I mean, literally, we would sit there. We'd set our tape recorder up. Our parents would usually be the congregation, whatever.
Yeah.
And we put the tape in, the cassette tape in there, hit, play and record, and then, like, preach. Like, get a scripture and preach, and like just mimic the
Yeah.
types of preachers that we saw.
Yeah, for sure.
In the
Absolutely.
beginning,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And you'd go and fill up both sides.
Yeah.
And then when you said that, I was like, my God, that's exactly what we did too.
Okay, but clearly you were doing it younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I was 20.
Yeah. I was, probably 7, 8, 9.
Crazy. No, I was playing with He-Man and G.I. Joe and Thundercats and Voltron. Shout out to Gen X. That's what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I was interceding in prayer.
Yeah,
and,
you were.
exegetical studies.
Yeah, God called you. Yeah, you were making prophetic declarations over your
Right.
elementary school.
Let me test this out on you, fam.
No, that's hilarious. No, that's dope though. So y'all moved to United States.
That's right.
Obviously to Texas.
That's right.
What part?
Dallas.
Dallas. Yeah, you were in Dallas.
Dallas for 3 years, 3 or 4 years, and then we moved to Fort Worth.
Yep. Fort Worth is better.
It is, man.
Oh, I know that's gonna piss off some Dallas people.
We love you,
Fort Worth
Dallas,
is better.
but man, we can get anywhere in 15 minutes.
Yeah, like whoever made the highway system down in Dallas just had a spirit of confusion.
That's
on them.
right.
Like
They
a
still
strong
do.
spirit.
Still do.
Like when you
Still subject
call like North Dallas over there, like 75, when you name that the Mixmaster,
Right.
there is a demonic
Influence.
stronghold at play.
That's right.
Absolutely.
The Stoicheia, bro.
Yeah. Did you just say it in German? Or what did you just say?
The Greek.
Oh, that was Greek.
Yeah.
Tim's way smarter than me.
No.
Y'all are gonna find out. Tim's way smarter than me.
Yeah, right.
No, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you've been in Fort Worth since.
Yeah, since I think it's 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, so a lot during that period of time, a lot happened in church life because we moved from Germany to a new church in Dallas. We were there for, I think, 3 years, and then we moved to a church in Fort Worth. And that's really where I started ministry. So we had this program at the church called MIT, Ministers in Training.
Yeah.
And I remember it was a youth revival type of service when I actually got the call. Somebody asked me the other day, like, hey, when did you know you were called to preach? And it sounds funny to say this, but I always felt that way. Like I always, and again, hence the doing tape recordings.
Yeah,
at
for sure.
7 and
Yeah,
8,
yeah,
you know
for
what I mean?
sure. Absolutely.
And my parents were keenly aware of that.
Yep.
And so they always were very encouraging of ministry, and they always prayed that over me too. And so I always heard it constantly. And so, but then for myself, when I was 13, it was a youth revival, and I still remember the message was come out from the crowd. And bro, it hit me. I was on the corner, and I could feel it. I was like, man, I feel like I'm called to ministry. And this guy that was there, he was an evangelist. He came, prayed over me, and he said, the Lord's calling you to ministry. And that was the beginning. So
Wow.
then, of course, I talked to our pastor, and we had a pretty small church. And I was like, hey, I feel called to ministry. And he's like, okay, let's get you an MIT. And, bro, it was
13.
13. And it was like exegetical studies. It was hermeneutics, homiletics. Like, it was intense. Of course, I enjoyed that stuff. And it sounds weird to say that as a 13-year-old, but I really enjoyed it.
Well, you and Juliet are like weird people.
Right. We enjoy studying.
Because
and,
Juliet was in Bible school when she was 14 years old.
Wow.
14,
It's
dude.
wild.
They let her in
Right.
because her soul is like 97. I think Juliet's soul got here like the end of the 1800s.
Yeah.
But then it didn't find its body until, 1900 and something. She won't let me say the decade. So, yeah. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first message, this is funny too, bro. I was, when you've been studying, I'm ready to preach. And so the guy that was running our outreach comes up and he goes, hey, of course they call me Timmy.
Yeah, every little kid named Tim is automatically Tim.
Yes, that's how we start.
That's how we start.
Story.
Our origin story
That's
is
right.
we're Timmies until we're Tims.
So he goes, hey, are you ready to preach? And I'm like, most definitely. And I actually had a sermon prepared. Right? I've written one called "Is There Not a Cause?" And he goes, "Okay, well, we want you to preach at the street service. Now, street service. Can we talk about that?"
That's baptism by this is baptism by fire.
This is baptism by fire.
Yeah. This
Like,
is
when guys hear like street service, they're thinking like, okay, no, fam. We would stand on the corner of the street.
Yes, sir.
In downtown Fort Worth.
Yes, sir.
With a Bible.
Yes, sir.
No mic. And start preaching.
Open air.
Open air. People driving by. Folks yelling at you. I'm 13 years old going, we did a little worship thing. And they're like, all right, it's you. And I'm like, okay. 1 Samuel 17.
I love it.
Just like, and then I preached my first message. And then shortly after that, preached at our church. And I had the tape for that one.
But let's go slower.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think about how many stereotypes you broke in that first service.
Wow.
A 13-year-old kid on a street corner,
right,
with a Bible, preaching,
right,
not selling drugs, not being initiated into a gang,
right,
preaching the gospel.
right.
Do you know how many statistics you shattered at 13?
Right.
Are you kidding me right now? What?
Right. Well, and it was the environment, right?
Yeah.
That that created opportunity.
Yep.
For us that were, we were on fire for God. And I think that's the biggest problem a lot of times with culture now.
Yep.
It's like we go to youth camps and we have youth services and we're like, yeah, man, God wants to use you when you turn 18.
Don't do it. See?
You know what I'm saying?
This is what's going to push
Like,
you to 3 hours.
they don't-
See?
Like a lot of youth pastors are like, hey, man, God's calls on your life, but we're not going to give you a mic to MC yet until you're 18, until you're a young adult. And it's like, no, fam, like you got to let them fail forward. I was sitting there preaching and I had 4 or 5 of the other pastors behind me going, preach. That's right. And bro, I know that sermon was not that great. like I go,
You're like mid preaching
Right.
going, this sucks.
right.
I don't even
Right.
know where I am in the Bible
Right.
anymore.
People driving by and walking by looking at you like you've lost your mind, but
Wow.
you have this support system behind you.
That's right.
That's going like, hey, if God's hand is on you at 13 and you
Yep.
feel called to preach,
Yep.
we're going to create the environment and the opportunity to help you live out your call.
Absolutely.
And not wait until you've had opportunity to try everything else.
Yeah, right. Why should you go smoke some weed
Right.
and drink a beer
Right.
and come back with a testimony?
Right.
Right?
Right.
We tell people to go out and live life and come back with an STD.
Right. And now you got a testimony.
And now you got a testimony. No, you got to burn.
Testimony.
Yeah.
You better get a test.
You got testicular.
Moni.
Testicular Moni has just literally wiped me out. This is the best epi ever. Are you kidding me right? No, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Because here's what I've always believed. Whoever gets to them first wins.
Right.
Now, I'm going to say something. I know I have teenagers that watch this pod with their parents and all that kind of stuff. Please don't think I'm being disrespectful as I say this. I'm saying this as a general rule and not as like an individual slight.
Right.
Teenagers are stupid. Point blank, period.
Right.
And they're not stupid because they're stupid.
Right.
They're stupid because they're ignorant. That like they haven't been around long enough to know
Right.
what's going on. Then you get a flood of hormones that like come in like the Niagara Falls,
Right.
and cascade over your entire body,
Right.
pouring through your brain, and you know what I'm saying?
Right,
and
right.
then puberty hits and
Right.
your body's changing,
Right.
and girls are going through hormonal changes and
Right.
guys are going through hormonal changes, and we talk about the midlife crisis,
Right.
but at least our brains are formed and we can kind of navigate that if we've got a great support, but nobody talks about the teenage crisis.
Right.
Of identity and who am I going to be, and my face just broke out and my voice is getting deep and I went from an A cup to a double D cup and all these boys are in my face and you know what I'm saying? My erections won't leave and I can't stand up in class.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Like all this stuff is happening and we're literally telling people, yeah. God has a plan for your life.
Right.
And we're like this.
Right. Ooh.
Come on, not yet.
Yeah.
Come, but not yet.
That's right.
Come. No. Yeah, come closer, but no. Don't. You can, but you can't.
Right.
We believe that God has greatness on you, but we don't want to see it at 16.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so instead of standing behind you and going, preach that message.
Right.
We'll fix it later.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We're like, oh no, we don't want to put them out there. Too much temptation and da-da-da-da.
Right.
And then before you know it, it's like, well, y'all didn't let me do nothing, but the gang did.
Right.
Y'all didn't let me do nothing, but I found Molly.
Right.
Y'all didn't let me do nothing, but I found ecstasy. Y'all didn't let me do nothing, but I found Xan.
Right.
Y'all didn't let me do nothing, but I found lean.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I found syrup, that's cis herb. You know what I mean? Y'all didn't let me do nothing, so I started taking pictures of my breasts and sending them to my boyfriend.
Right.
Y'all didn't let me do nothing, so I made a little porn flick on my cell phone with my girl. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Y'all didn't let me do nothing.
Right. Oh, exactly. And and I think that's the beauty sometimes of like of being raised in a church that was smaller is because we elevate excellence over calling oftentimes, and it's
That's
like,
right.
well, it's not excellent, so we can't. Well, no, if a young person has a call in their life,
That's right.
and they've submitted themselves to that call,
Right.
and they've done all the legwork
Yep.
and all that,
Yep.
like
They need space, man.
bro, and it's biblical.
Yeah, it is biblical.
Samuel came to Eli and it's
That's
like,
exactly
hey,
right.
Did you call me?
Yeah,
Eli finally told Samuel, fam,
that ain't me.
now next time this is what you do.
That's exactly right.
He gave him permission to
That's
start
exactly
operating
right.
in the calling
Yes.
of God.
That's exactly
at
right.
an early age.
At a very early age.
And then come back and tell me and let me help you work through and walk out the call that's on your life.
Yep.
And a lot of times we're like, the Eli's nowadays are like, let me run in there and see if I can hear him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I grew up in an environment. That's why I'll never dishonor where I grew up.
Oh, for sure.
I'll never like
It's
throw
awesome.
shade because
No.
like, there's a lot of things that now maybe that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
But I'll never throw shade
Nah, fam.
on the people and the ministries and all the pastors that were like, yeah, we believe God's hand.
Oh,
on you
bro.
too. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, so let me. I'm glad you said that because a lot of times people think that when you grow out of a season, that you also grow out of honoring
Ooh,
that season,
that's good.
right?
Right.
When the truth of the matter is, you learned what you learned,
Right.
And when you nobody graduates from elementary school and goes to junior high and then looks back at elementary school and be like, those clowns.
Right.
Can't believe those stupid teachers teaching me division.
Right.
It's all about algebra, baby. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, if you didn't learn division
Right.
and basic mathematics, you wouldn't be able to go on to algebra and calculus
Right.
and you know what I'm saying?
Right.
All this kind of stuff. It's like just elementary school, you can graduate from something without looking back at it in disdain.
Right.
And maybe you don't agree with your teachers, or maybe
Right.
you don't agree with the way they taught you division. Maybe they
Right.
taught you long division and you found the shortcut or whatever.
Right.
And like, I feel that way about Potter's House. Like, Potter's House is solely responsible for putting in me what I've been able to put out in mass.
Right.
Now, here's the way that I break that down. I gave my life to Jesus Christ at God's Way of Holiness Fellowship Church.
Right.
Okay, in West Covina, California. Okay, my parents pastored that church. That church never had over 100 people in it
Right.
in 15 years.
Right.
Okay. The way I say it is that the cake got baked at God's Way of Holiness Fellowship.
Right.
That's where the ingredients were put in. Charles and Maxine, they are responsible.
Right.
From birth to the time I gave my life to Jesus and 18 months afterwards, because I was there a year and a half before I moved to Texas.
Right.
the ingredients that's in this cake, all of that was put in there by Charles and Maxine Ross and God's Way Holiness Fellowship.
Right.
So the cake was baked
Yeah.
at God's Way. The frosting got put on at Potter's house.
Right.
And you know cake is better with frosting.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's good.
When I got to PH, that's where the frosting got put on.
Right.
And that's when I started learning like how to believe God for like big stuff. I go
Right.
from a church that didn't have over 100 people to a church of thousands. And
Right.
and Bishop Jakes gave me the opportunity to stand on platforms.
Right.
I did mime ministry. And he took us on the road with him. Like his major conferences, we were doing mimes,
Right.
okay? He let me rap there. I was rapping before he preached.
Right.
He would let me and
dope,
my shout out to Otis Buckley. He would let me and Otis rap before he preached on a Saturday night service
Right.
with 5,000 people in the room. So I had been on major platforms in my early 20s.
Right.
He was letting me get used to it.
Right.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So miming there, I did spoken word, I did rap, I did little sermonettes. And then in 2006, he hired me to be the young adult pastor. I was preaching to 25,000 people.
Right.
You don't move on from that season and be like, stupid church.
Right.
Dumb church. Can't believe that church. No, that church is amazing. I
Right.
wouldn't be me if it wasn't for that church.
Right.
And I may differ in my expression now,
Yeah.
but I still remember the foundation. And that's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's important.
Well, you know, like what? Again, this goes back to like what church, what ministry, what pastor would allow you to preach at 13. Now, so when we preached at, and this is what we were taught: if God's hand is on you and you're called to preach, you'll find a place to preach, and you'll accept every opportunity to preach, because preachers preach.
Period. Huh?
You know what I'm saying? Like, so we were taught, hey, listen, you find a place to preach, and we got nursing homes, we got care centers,
Because there is a place to preach.
exactly. There's always a place to preach.
Yeah, if you waiting for your bucket list,
Right.
you in it for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Good luck waiting.
Yeah, good luck waiting on that.
Right. So after preaching on the street, then I preached at church on like a Sunday night, and I got the tape for that, bro. Like that's literally
How old were you?
Reverend Timmy Rivers, 13.
You have a tape of you being 13 years old preaching?
Yes, sir.
I gotta see this,
Yeah, bro.
bro. I gotta see this.
Oh yeah.
Is it a VHS?
No, it's a cassette tape. Cassette tape, bro.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'll bring it. I may have it on my phone. I may have a clip on my phone.
Okay, bro. I'm so glad that doesn't exist for me.
Oh, bro.
I can't imagine my first sermon.
Oh man.
Listening to that right now.
You know what's wild though? It's like you listen to it, and you're like, man, thank you God for growing me.
Oh, for sure.
But when I listened to it, I started crying, bro. Because for me, it was like this. It was real for me at that age. It wasn't just a game. So when I tell people, like a lot of times when people go, like, how long have you been preaching? I give them kind of like when I became a youth pastor, which is at 18. But
that's not the truth.
Yeah, for preaching
I'm
itself.
not saying that's not the truth.
Right.
That's not the actual start date.
Because most people don't actually, when I say I started preaching at 13, they're like, right.
Yeah,
and
they diminish it. They diminish
right.
it. They diminish it, and they shouldn't do that. I want to know. I'm curious about why you were crying. What were you hearing from him?
Man, that's good, bro. I'm probably going to start crying now. To me, this has never been a game. Ministry's never been a game. And, at 35, looking back 20 years now, it was never a game. Like I always felt that way. But then when I hear myself preach at 13, of course, it's like a typical 13-year-old preaching. I mean, I have my passage, I have my thoughts and stuff like that. But there's this like passion that I had, even at that age, that was like, this is what God's called me to do. And this word is for somebody. And it's just that like hearing a 13-year-old be passionate about what God's called him to do and knowing it's yourself, like it moved me to tears because, and I thank God, that he called me at a young age, and then allowed me to start operating at an early age too. And then I think it reminisced me. It just made me reminisce about all the people too, because in the tape you can hear like the church in the background being like, "Preach, preach, brother. That's right." And you're like, man, all those people, bro, like took it serious.
Yeah, for sure.
They weren't like, oh, this little kid's up there preaching. It was like they truly allowed for a young God to be used of God, bro.
Yeah,
and like that, that moves me to tears, man, because it's like, I hope I pray that I do that for our kids.
Yeah, for sure.
But man, I sure do hope they have a support system around them that does the same thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Dude, so let me tell you why this is like very, very meaningful to me. So Cosby's in my top 5, Cosby's number 1.
Right.
I know that's gonna mess with some people's head.
Right.
Present circumstances excluded.
Right.
Cosby's my GOAT.
Right.
Chappelle's 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Chappelle's relevant and he's significant.
Right.
But Cosby's the GOAT to me.
Right.
And I used to follow this app he had, obviously prior to everything come out. And like, he has an app, he's still putting out content? And he's like, hey y'all. No, let me be quiet. It's terrible. Okay, let me focus. So oh my gosh. But he used to have this app, and he loves jazz, and he used to listen to these. He had these jazz artists that he was very fond of. He was talking to one of the jazz artists, and he was like, "Man, just where you went in that session was amazing." Let's just say the dude was on the sax or the the trombone or the whatever, trumpet. And the guy said, yeah, man, I still go back and listen to my early stuff. And Cosby said, why? He said, I need to go back to the early stuff I need to listen to that kid every once in a while just to figure out the risk that he took. And I needed to hear how brave he was before I got all polished and before I started thinking about everything. I need to go back to the kid every once. And I thought to myself, how many of us go back to the kid?
Yeah.
Just to see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And some of us go back to our kid and it's painful. It makes us cry. Some of us go back to our kid and we're inspired and it's whimsical.
Right.
Some of us go back to our kid and we get brave again. And some of us go back to our kid and we get afraid again, you know?
Right.
But I think we have to be, I think it's good to go back.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good to go back.
Yeah.
I have a, well, I didn't put it out, but somebody put out this sermon I did at Potter's House called Stop Tripping Is Coming.
Yeah,
and
that fire message.
It has like over 500,000 views, right?
Yeah.
It just blessed that dude so much he put it out, right?
Right.
So, but I'll go back and I have a bunch of other Potter's House stuff on Vimeo. Like a lot of people don't rock with Vimeo, you know what I mean?
Right.
That was kind of like I don't know if it was trying to be like the alternative to YouTube. It didn't make it.
Yeah.
But their servers are still up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I have.
What happened to Vimeo?
I don't. It's still there, bro. It's still there.
real?
And my sermons on PH are still there as well.
Okay.
So I'll go back and look at that kid.
Yeah.
That 33-year-old, and I'll go back and be like, okay, that suit is swallowing him up.
Yeah.
And you acting just like your daddy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm like, that dude had zero cares.
Right.
That dude believed that what was coming out of his mouth was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and would fight you on it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I go back and look at that dude just to be like, yeah, you still got that. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like that ain't left you.
Right.
So it's just dope to be able to go back that far.
Right.
To go back to 13.
Right. Yeah, it's wild, man. And I, hopefully at some point, I want to put it out.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think it does two things. One is it inspires other young people that age that feel that call. And hopefully it gives some allowance for those that are mentoring or teaching young ones.
Yeah.
To give them a platform.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Let them go.
Let them go.
Let them fail.
If they make a mistake, you can roll up right behind them and be like, hey, actually, that's not what the Bible says. But, man, aren't we proud of Timmy? You know what I mean?
They gave it a shot, man.
They gave it a shot.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And that birthed within me just a love for the church, too. For the people.
Yes, sir.
Because, man, dude, there have been so many people. In fact, at the ordination this past week, there were two dudes in the room, my brother and a longtime friend, who were there the first time I ever preached a message.
That's awesome.
And they were
my God, from there to here,
That's
that
right.
had to be very sentimental.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I'll talk about this here in a second.
Yeah.
There was another event that wasn't so happy. And they were the only two guys that were there. And then they were there for the ordination.
Holy cow.
So to go back and listen to a tape does a whole lot for me because it shows me a 20-year journey.
Yep.
And, people always wonder, like, why are you so passionate, like, when you preach, or, like, why do you, get animated? I'm like, fam, like, this is nothing new. I've always been excited about God.
Yeah.
I can show you the tape.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or let you listen to it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, bro.
So let's talk about passion real quick. Because it's baseball season right now.
Right.
And my Dodgers just got eliminated, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, they won 111 games. You know how hard it is to win 111 games in baseball? Right. These jokers won 111 games and let the Padres take them out. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and the Padres was like 24 years or something like that, right?
Yeah,
26
it's been a long time, right? So, but man, it was heartbreaking. Anyway, that last pitch and that strikeout, that whole stadium went Pentecostal over watching somebody get struck out.
Right. Right.
And they're high-fiving each other.
Right.
People are pulling their... And then we get to church.
Talk about it, bro.
And they're like...
Talk
Why
about
you,
it.
I'm trying to enjoy the Lord, and you're yelling next to me. Well, I wasn't trying to enjoy this game, and you speared beer on me.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
like,
right.
So it's like, bro, I refuse to give less energy to Jesus than I gave to Satan.
Right.
Let me just put that out in the atmosphere. Right now, I know everybody got different personalities and all kind of stuff, and I know some of that stuff is just pomp and circumstance and showmanship and a bunch of what I refer to as chitlin circuit stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's no spirit at all, and you just in there huckabucking. Call them baby seals. They just be in there. And you could, only thing is missing is you throw a beach ball in there, they can start bouncing it off their nose. So I'm not talking about that. But it's like, man, when I'm in the presence of the Lord, I be turned up, bro.
For real.
Like I came here for this.
Right.
I went to the club for that.
Right.
I came here for this.
Right.
The old saints used to say, we haven't stopped dancing, we just switched
Change
partners.
That's right.
That's all we did, fam.
Exactly.
So for me, I'm like, you couldn't make me not. Now this is just my personality. I know some people are more quiet and that's just not who they are. But don't ask me while I'm passionate.
Right, right.
That's like asking me, why do I love my wife?
Right.
She fine.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Why do I love my Christ? He's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I'm in love with that man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He died on the cross for my sins, and you want me to walk around like, thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Nah, fam, nah.
Well, do you think a lack of passion stems from not truly understanding like the relationship? So like, for some people, like they'll turn up at the clubs because they know they're having a good time and this music hits and blah, blah, blah. And then you get to church and you're like, hey, this is the Savior who has saved you from eternity's hell, right? And you're not passionate about that. So I wonder, if you're not responding to that, does that mean that isn't real to you? Like, why do you think people lack passion between those two?
Listen, I've tasted and seen of the sweetest of loves.
Right.
Where my heartbeat comes free.
Yeah.
And my shame is undone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Your presence, Lord. Right? I've seen people give more expression over a bite of chocolate cake.
Right.
I have seen someone take a bite of a burger.
Right.
And have a full foodgasm.
Right.
Eyes rolling in the back of their head. Right. Wiping the corners of their mouth. Oh my God, so good.
Best baguette.
Right, that I've ever had in my life. See, this is what y'all gonna learn. See, here's the thing. Y'all think these two Tims, the Lord is he has a sense of humor. Let me just say that. But literally, I've seen more emotion come from people watching Game of Thrones,
right,
than they have, and I think there is a disconnect. I think they have it in their head, but it hasn't reached their heart. Because once something is in your heart,
right,
you stop thinking about what it looks like.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Because you're just like, no, I'm feeling this right now. You know what I'm saying? You ever seen somebody who's really passionate about something? That's coming from a heart place. That's not coming from a head place.
Right.
So if I think if it's still logically up here, I'm processing the data of this situation. Yes, I understand His presence. His presence is here. I'm really happy that you joined us today, Lord. Glad you're here. And just don't ruffle my feathers.
Right.
I need this service to end on time.
Right.
I have a football game. I have season tickets.
Right.
I've chosen the early service, and
that's where I'll turn up.
Right?
At about 1:30.
A couple of beers later,
right,
if the Cowboys kick a field goal,
right,
y'all happy. Let alone a touchdown.
Right.
Y'all turn full Pentecostal.
Right.
Over a touchdown. So, dude, I just think that passion, and let me say this, that's not ethnic.
Right.
Passion ain't ethnic.
No.
I don't want to hear nobody talking about, I saw the footage of Woodstock.
Right.
Them jokers was passionate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've seen the footage of concerts and picking ethnicity.
Yeah.
Them jokers is passionate.
Right.
But I don't know if we haven't given people permission, or I do think some of it is head stuff. I do think some of it is atmosphere and what people feel their comfort level to be. Mm-hmm. But it's something that they need to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not apologizing for it.
Right. And yeah, you're
Ever.
right. It's not ethnic, because I grew up in predominantly white churches.
Yes.
And we would throw down, fam.
Listen.
I mean all the stuff. Running aisles.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? I've seen jokers rolling on the floor.
And let me tell you something.
Falling out.
There is a remnant of white people that know that beat.
Right.
They can put them up and put them down.
Shindigs.
On the 2 and the 4.
Right.
The 1 and the 3. Whatever it may be.
Right.
They can.
For sure. Dude.
They can like this whole thing of white people don't have rhythm and black people do. Nah, it's just some of them white people don't have rhythm. And some black people don't either.
Right.
So let's just, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
They I don't know what happened to their ancestors, but they disconnected in the bone marrow somewhere. Because them jokers come out like.
You said all in the marrow.
And you're like, this is a slow song.
Right.
You should be able to catch this beat. Them jokers just like they're trying to smack a mosquito. And I'm like, just don't clap. How about you just don't clap?
Yeah.
Or do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And leave your tambourine.
Please don't have a tambourine if you don't know how to pop that thing, because it's It's a science to a tambourine beat.
It is.
It is a science to a tambourine beat. No, that's yeah, man, passion, and you are passionate, and I love your passion. It's contagious. It's like I listen to you and I feel like I got to talk back to you. I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to when you step into the season fully is just shouting you down and hollering back and
bro,
all of that. All right, so all right, you were the boy wonder. We get it. You came here bilingual, ESL, the whole nine. You started preaching at 13. You still have the tape. You got receipts. We get it, Tim. You got receipts that you started when you was 13 and been in Fort Worth and have grown up in ministry. And, like, we are here.
We are here.
How much context do you want to give between then and up to where we meet?
I'll give you,
because it's important for them to know.
It is
how our relationship is.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll give a little bit of context. 18 became a youth pastor. 21 started evangelizing. Kind of the same thing. $250 in the bank. The Lord said, "Go to California." I'm like, what? I had one invitation to preach, so I packed my stuff. My parents they're so faith-filled. They're like, hey, if God told you, just have enough money to get back.
Yeah.
Go out there. Was there for a few years. Came back.
What part of Cali?
All up and down because I evangelized.
Okay, got you.
So I really based a lot out of San Jose.
Okay.
Because that gave me really the opportunity to go all over the place.
Yeah.
And so the Lord called me back to come back home. Our church was in a transition. It grew up, I grew up very traditional Pentecostal, and it was transitioning into more of a non-denominational, spirit-filled vibe. And so I really felt like the Lord called me back to help with that transition. In the meantime, I met Janice, in the very beginning of 2011, fell in love with her, and we got married in 2012, December, and then we went to Sri Lanka for a few months, came back home, and that's where it all kind of started. We came back home in 2013. We started a Bible study, and that's where the Lord really laid on our hearts, lead pastor. But it wasn't the time yet.
Yeah.
Well, a few years later, I was asked to be kind of a co-pastor of the church we were in. And so I stepped into that. We started doing a lot of good things. The church had kind of gone down a little bit in numbers and stuff like that, but it started going back up. God was doing amazing things. And kind of out of nowhere, there was separation between me and the pastor. And I really didn't know, like, how or where it came from.
Right.
Because I didn't feel like it came from my side.
Right.
And I didn't do anything like to kind of warrant that separation, but it was definitely happening. And so I kept trying to figure out what it was. We had several meetings, and this is where I say these two guys, my brother and a friend, came into play. Because I finally just called a meeting to set it all straight. I wanted two witnesses there. They were there.
That was biblical, Timothy.
Right.
You're not Timmy anymore.
That's right. At that point, I was Timothy. For sure.
That was a Timothy move.
That was a Timothy move.
Yeah, it's a big boy move.
Right. Well, dude, that meeting did not go well. Like, I went there thinking we'd squash whatever it is, and then let's continue to build a church. And the pastor was like, no, I don't want to work with you anymore. I don't know if I trust you. And so this is the end.
Although we've come to the end of the road, no, I can't let go.
But I have to. 'Cause you told me to.
Ooh, ooh.
Now I'll cry and figure out my life.
Come to the end. That's hilarious.
I mean, it was the end of the road.
Yeah, dude. Oh, that hurts.
It did.
That hurts,
but
bro.
Here's the thing, like, the Lord released me for sure.
Yeah.
I'm giving a little bit of this context because this really plays into everything.
Yeah.
Because I'd been there for 15 years. And so I ended up, Janice and I told the pastor, hey, that's totally fine, but we're going to have to find a different church. So we ended up going to visit High Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how hurt I was by that situation until a few months being there.
Yep.
When I realized, like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
I had to start all over.
Mm-hmm.
I got a secular job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's where I was like, all right, God, am I actually called?
Yeah.
Because how did this happen?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was faithful. Like, I did all the stuff. And, it was in that year that the Lord spoke to me that I was going to connect to you.
Wow.
I had just left that church.
Yep.
And I got some great advice from a pastor. He said, the most vulnerable place for sheep is when they're between shepherds.
Absolutely.
So he said, find you a church and just go. So we found High Ridge. We started going.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Pastor Jeff at the time, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like in the mix of all that, in the summer of 2016, that the Lord said, you're going to connect to Tim Ross, and he's going to be instrumental in the future of your ministry and life. Bro, see, I'm going to get emotional talking about this. I was so broken ministerially at that point. And it wasn't because of moral affairs or anything like that. It was just like, it literally was one of those, like, God, why did this happen?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
why am I here?
Yeah, for
I've
sure.
been faithful. I've been like, I've been doing your work.
Yeah.
And
up until that point, you've always had supportive pastors.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then, but we were not connected in any way. Like, there wasn't I couldn't call someone and be like, yo, the Lord spoke to me about Tim Ross. Man, can you send me his,
Yeah,
his
for
digit?
sure.
It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we were not connected at all.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 2019. Well, actually, there was a presbytery,
Mm-hmm.
2017.
Yep.
Mallory was a presbyter.
Mallory Basham.
Yes.
Yep.
And she says to me, I feel like the Lord wants you to get hot with scripture. Honest, open, and transparent. It's the first time I heard it, and I was like, okay. She goes, my friend Tim Ross, he uses that phrase. Now, remember, we had never met. She goes, I feel like God just wants you to do the same.
Get out of Dodge.
Bro, I got the receipts. I got this on tape. 2017, 2 years before you and I meet.
Dang.
So then we meet in 2017.
Yep.
And I just come up to you and I go, because I never felt a release to even reach out to you from the time that I heard the Lord wanted me to connect with you. But it was that time that we ran into each other at our church, and the Lord said, okay, now it's time. And that's when I came up, and all I said to you was, hey, nice to meet you. I feel like the Lord wants us to connect, but I just want to submit that to you. And you said, all right, let's do breakfast tomorrow. And I'm like, this dude just blew me off, man. Because, how many times have you heard that, right? Like, oh, yeah, we'll do breakfast tomorrow. But I knew because you were still doing presbytery during that.
Yeah.
So the next day came, and you did your thing. And then you were like, all right, let's go to Cracker Barrel. I was like, okay, we doing this. So we went to Cracker Barrel.
Let's go slow,
Yeah.
because I think this is gonna help a lot of people.
Okay.
I think this can be a teaching moment for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You heard the Holy Spirit tell you that you and I were going to connect.
Mm-hmm.
You never DM me.
That's right.
You didn't reach out on Instagram.
Mm-mm.
You didn't send a friend request on Facebook and then try to reach out through that.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't try to use a mutual friend or somebody to connect.
That's right.
You heard it, and you waited for your opportunity.
That's right. Yeah, the only one I told was my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So she was the only one that knew. I said, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I feel like the Lord's told me that we're going to connect.
Yep. So you waited.
That's right.
Okay. Secondly, when you got your opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
you told me exactly what you felt like the Lord told you.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, but I just submit that to you.
Right.
As opposed to, hey, the Lord said
Right.
we were going to connect, so can I get your number?
Right.
Which you did not do,
Right.
right?
Right.
You submitted it to me, and because this is the identical way I'm wired, as soon as you said what you said, I didn't need to pray about nothing.
Right.
It was like, oh, for sure. This is exactly how it's supposed to be done.
Right.
That's why I want to slow down.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of people in this social media space that want access to people that are inspiring them.
Right.
They don't know how to do this.
Right.
So first of all, let me calibrate expectations. The majority of us will never meet the people that inspire us through social media.
Right.
I love Gary Vee. I feel like he's more pastoral than most pastors.
Right.
I may or may not ever meet him, right? But I sure ain't gonna DM him
Right.
and be like, "Hey, man, I don't know if you're ever gonna get this, but
But the other 100,000.
can you counsel me?"
Right.
I'm better off going to find somebody that's within my proximity to counsel me,
Right.
or give me some, you know what I mean,
Right.
Gary V vibes.
Right.
You know what I mean? I need to go get great value Gary V. I need to go get Gary P. You know what I'm saying? Let me go find me a great value Gary P that's in the DFW Metroplex, because I probably can't get to the dude in New York, right? But you submitted it and you left it at that.
That's right.
And my response was, yeah, we're going to go eat breakfast the next day. Yeah. And whenever I tell somebody we're going to do something, as you know.
Right. We did it.
We did it.
And, one thing that helped, maybe this will help calibrate some people too, is like I was submitted to my pastor.
Correct.
Who, was my spiritual oversight.
That's
is
correct.
my spiritual
Correct.
oversight.
Absolutely right.
He serves as my pastor, spiritual father, all the above. And, at that time I was already on staff then.
Correct.
So I went to High Ridge for a year. Then they asked me to come on staff. So I was on staff there.
Identical to Gateway.
Exactly.
I was there for a year before they called me to be on staff. Yeah.
It's wild, bro. Like the parallels are.
It really is.
Wild.
It really is.
And so for me, it was like, I'm being obedient to the Lord, but at the end of the day, like the reciprocity has to be there.
Correct.
In terms of like, all right, this is what the timing that I feel like God's wanting to initiate that. But at the end of the day, you as the mentor had to feel that as well, which you did. And I'm glad you did. And we went to Cracker Barrel, bro. And like, a lot of times you ease into relationships, but man, I felt such an ease and such a like comfort there. I told you my whole life story.
Yeah.
While eating eggs.
Yes, sir.
Crying, fam.
Yeah,
The tears were happening, dude. I'm like,
yeah.
Maybe this is why God wants you in my life.
I have that effect.
Yeah.
I have that effect on people. Yeah, it's going to be hard to be with me and not be vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was like
because it could have been a quick lunch.
It could have been.
So I want to slow down right there as well.
Go ahead.
You did not attempt to impress me.
Right.
Say the right words.
Right.
You were just yourself.
Right.
And you giving me the gift of your vulnerability made it very easy for me to not only receive it, but to reciprocate it.
Right.
I have a very low tolerance for people that want to impress me.
Right.
Or I've been alive for 47 years.
Right.
I know when somebody's trying to put their best foot forward. I don't care about none of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, look at me, dog. I don't care, man.
Right.
I got on a Press B shirt. I don't have on no shoes. I'm chilling in my own house. Like we're not about that life, man.
Right.
Go find the other preacher with the gold chain on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
With the, with a Breitling on or something.
Right.
Like that ain't me. If you need showy,
right.
Go to the top floor. We in the basement.
Right.
I need jokers to be real,
Right.
and I don't want that to be on our third meeting.
Right. Exactly.
Whatever you got to say it now.
Right.
I want to know who I'm dealing with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you kissed your puppy in the mouth, when you was 14? Just tell me, dog. Just tell me. I French kissed my dog.
Right.
Okay. It's weird.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I know what I'm working
you
with.
probably shouldn't do that no more. And I hope you don't have no pets.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, can we just keep you away from dogs?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't tell me you have 4 dogs, because I'm going to be like, okay. I need you to call the animal shelter.
Right now.
I don't even know where I come up with this stuff, fam. I be coming up with the worst scenarios of all time.
I know these people. I know them dwellers be like, how come nobody can have no regular issues? How come it can't just be self-esteem issues?
But you know, somebody listening probably like,
I was kissing my dog in the mouth.
I'm gonna go see a therapist. Let me go download Peace of Mind right now. I'll do the $100 version. I gotta overcome this.
I kissed the dog and I liked it.
And now I have to buy peace of mind. The whole thing.
The whole thing. Oh, Jesus. Okay, Lord. You know I'm throwed, Jesus. Okay. All right. I'm throwed. Okay. So you did not waste my time, man.
Right.
You like put it all out there and was, because that's all I've ever done with anybody that that mentors me.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if you don't want to rock with me, I want you to know up front
Right.
what you're not gonna rock with.
Right.
But it ain't gonna be no eye squinting like,
Right.
oh, I met with him a couple of times, but I'm still trying to fill him out. And nah,
Right.
man, let's just get to it.
And I think a big deal too is like there was 2 things. Like, one, I didn't want to waste your time, and I didn't want to waste my time.
That part.
Because here's the thing, like, I need you to know who you're dealing with.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
there ain't no bait and switch here.
Exactly.
Like, fam, this is who I am. And the Lord, this is probably why God laid, you on my heart.
Yep.
So I'm just going to bring the real me.
Yep.
And tell you about, like, everything.
Yep.
So that we know how to progress forward.
Yeah.
And one thing, and this is hopefully some encouragement for anybody that's looking for mentorship is, listen, like the onus on that is on the one who is wanting to be mentored. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not waiting for you to call me to set up another time for us to meet.
No, because I'm not calling you.
Right.
I'm not calling you.
Right.
You called me.
Right. Right.
Please help the people.
And here's another thing.
Lord, have
I
mercy.
also
This is blessing me.
wasn't going like, hey, Tim, can you come to where I'm at? Can you drive down to Fort Worth?
Please.
Make it convenient for me?
Oh, my God. This is a
And
clinic.
come with some questions to ask me so that me as your mentee can, pour out my heart. No. I came to you with questions. I came to you with vulnerability. Wherever you were, if you wanted to rock over here in Denton, I'm meeting you at 7 Mile. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make the drive. I'm not gonna be like, hey, I don't want to, schedule this with your administrative assistant. I want to do this directly. No, fam. That's not how it works.
That is not how it works. Please tell them how far your drive was.
If there's a little bit of traffic, an hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's 52 miles one way, right? Around there?
Around there.
Between 48 and 52 miles one way.
Right.
Now, before anybody starts thinking, first of all, I did not tell you to say that.
No.
Y'all know the basement is unscripted. I'm looking right in this camera. Basement is unscripted. We don't talk about nothing.
Right.
But I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because this is not, and I want you to hear my heart based on what Tim just said. This is not making the band.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Go get me cheesecake.
Right.
I'm putting up an obstacle course, and I want to know how bad you really want it. Right. You want this record deal?
Right.
Wash my car at
Right.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
No, that's pimp.
Right.
That's pimp-ish.
Right.
I put a hyphen there so nobody think that's pimp-ish.
Right.
Like I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about because of my life and because of what I have to do. If I give you the opportunity and I tell you I create the space, make it convenient for the person that you want the mentorship from.
Right.
Why would you make it inconvenient to draw from his or her well?
Right. But see, that's also where I think like a lot of people are flesh driven. Right? because the only thing that Elijah did to Elisha is smack him with a jacket. And then he walked off.
Is that where Benny Hinn got it from?
You never know. Except Elisha didn't fall back.
He didn't have no catches either.
He didn't have no catches, bro.
Take it.
He'd have hit that plow, bro, with the back of his head. It'd been over. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know what? You know what? Benny was in the Bible.
he was in the book.
I never even, you know what? Benny was in the Bible. Okay.
Pow.
Got smacked. It's in the Bible. Okay, let's go. Let's go. No, but you're absolutely right.
Yep.
He just came by, hit him with that jacket,
That's right. And then walked off.
and Elisha broke up that plow
That's right.
and followed that man.
That's right. That's right. And because it was God ordained.
Yes, it was.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the difference between, I think, for me, it was the Lord he already spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
So the onus was on me
Yes, it was on you.
to obey
Yes, it was.
and walk in what the Lord has already shown me.
Because I gave you the options.
That's right.
Let's meet at 7 Mile.
That's right.
You was coming to 7 Mile way before you started coming to my house.
That's right.
And it was never like, hey man, next time can you come my way?
Right.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Like that's not the way it works. And
And here's another one, bro.
Let's keep
Here's
going.
another one.
Keep going. Let's keep going.
Can I go?
Bro, are you telling me?
Here's another thing that I made
is-
sure I didn't do. I never exploited our relationship.
Never.
So
We don't have
wasn't
one.
like-
We don't have one photo.
That's what I was about to say, fam. I never showed up to the meeting, sneak a picture,
No.
post that joint on Instagram, tag him, talking about hanging out with my mentor, Tim Ross. No, for me, it was like, this doesn't have to be public.
No.
In fact, that's, a lot of people, even with this transition, are like, well, so how did y'all meet? I'm like, this has been happening.
Absolutely. This is not
We've been in a
no
relationship.
overnight.
No,
Exactly
we've been-
right.
Bro, like, we've walked through some heavy stuff.
Yes, we have.
In private.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also, as somebody being mentored, being poured into, you have to also gauge, like, are you draining this person? Or are they walking off, still smiling and hugging your neck? And that would have been my litmus test for us too. It's like, bro, if you would have walked off looking tired, I've been like, man, I better reevaluate, like, either what I'm bringing to the table or whether this is right or not. And it was. I don't feel like it ever was that way,
Bro, there was not one time after leaving a meeting with you that I felt drained. I always felt refreshed. I looked forward to our time. I wasn't like, oh my God.
Right.
I guess.
Right.
I mean, I committed to it. I guess I better.
Right.
And I felt that way before because
For
they
sure.
don't understand the assignment.
Right.
And I can't teach that to them.
That's right. That's right.
You either have that
Right.
or you don't.
Right.
I want to talk about this part. I'm bringing this up and not you. And so if this is a mischaracterization, you can just correct me.
Sure.
But you did everything I asked you to do.
That's right.
Any and everything that I advised to you, which I submitted,
Right.
I never told you what to
Right.
do.
Right.
But anything I submitted to you or advised you to do, you did it exactly the way I told you to do it. True or false?
True. Well, hey, bro, on my phone right here in my notes, right? I have a notes section right here, and it's pinned, and it says Tim Ross meetings. And I don't know if you could see that. Well, I better not show you this.
Depending on the
Believe
meeting
me,
day,
it's on there.
you may not want to know.
You may
what
not
I
want to know.
said.
Your name may be on it.
You may be in the notes.
That's right. But here, bro, like this goes back, I mean, to every meeting we've had, right?
Wow.
And the way I have it set up in my notes is questions. You walk and don't run, but what does that practically look like?
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance being with your family, sons and wife, and doing everything else, embassy, travel, podcast, etc.? These are, so this, I would come prepared with like, all right, this is what I'd like to talk to you about.
Absolutely.
But then you would answer me, bro, and I got the answers in here too. Over and over, man, like you would give me great answers and reorient, kind of my thinking towards things. Like one of the things is like, are you willing to forfeit God's future for us due to our current circumstances? That's something that you told me to ask myself because of a question that I had.
Yep.
And so I think that in a relationship like this, it is very important. Again, the onus is on the disciple.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
To ask the discipler.
That's correct.
Questions.
That's exactly right.
Jesus didn't roll up to disciples and go, hey guys, all right, I've got 5 questions that I'd like for you guys to ask me that I will in turn answer.
That's crazy.
Right?
Absolutely not.
They asked him questions. He answered.
That's
he said,
right.
All right, now go try it out.
That's exactly right.
Hey, how did it work?
Yeah.
Well, we ran into this. All right, this is what you do next time.
That's right.
Go.
Tweak it and go back out there.
That's right.
No, I think that's very important because as I've grown as a mentor and I've grown as a disciple maker, because I'm such an empath and I want everybody to win and I don't want nobody to think that they're being manipulated or controlled, I have in the past not required obedience. Because you don't want to feel like you sonning somebody. Right. Or you don't want to feel like, you know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
I'm grown just like you.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, if you're coming to me, you believe I've been somewhere you haven't been.
That's right.
My commitment is I will never tell you to do something I haven't done. And if I don't have the answer, I won't give you one.
Right.
That's my commitment.
Right.
I'm not just going to freestyle. Hey, man, I never done it before, but jump off the bridge.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I believe God to be with you.
Right.
Well, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But what I feel like is, and I require that now. I tell people up front, if you're not going to do everything I tell you to do, don't call me your mentor.
Right. Right.
You can say you met with me a couple of times and you can say, oh man, I like the dude and he's advised me on a couple of things, but do not call me your mentor. Do not say you are being discipled by me if you don't do everything I tell you to do.
That's right.
Because if you don't do everything I tell you to do, this is not that relationship.
Correct.
There is nobody I've ever been submitted to in my life that I haven't done every single thing they told me to do, whether I liked it or not.
Right.
That part.
Exactly.
Because submission ain't submission till it feels like submission.
That's right. Right.
So I've applauded that in you and everybody else that I've mentored that does the same thing. It's like, but man, I've run into some people that call themselves mentees.
Right.
They won't do what I tell them to do.
Right.
And so you know what I do? I distance myself.
Right.
You know what they say? He stopped calling me.
Right.
You didn't even understand the relationship.
Right.
I was never supposed to call you.
Right.
You were supposed to call me.
Right.
Well, you don't call and check up on me. You supposed to check in. I don't do checkups. You check in.
Right.
That's what this is.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I give you all access when you check in.
Right.
There's no time we've ever met in person or on the phone
right.
that you got half of me.
That's right.
True or false?
It's true. In fact, the first time we met, right? Because again, I understand because I mentor people.
Yeah.
I understand, like as a mentor, what I expect from people that are mentees.
Yeah.
And one of the things that as a mentee that I want to do, especially as we started getting, as we began the relationship, was I want to be respectful of your time.
Yep.
And when we met for the first time, I remember saying, "Okay, bro, well, I want to be respectful of your time, so let me know when you." You said, "No, fam, I got all the time in the world."
Yeah.
I'm like, all the time in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've cleared my entire calendar. You're the only one.
Yep.
And that like blew my mind, right? Because that was literally the first time.
Yep.
Where I've been in a relationship with someone that is a mentor-mentee type of relationship, where there wasn't a time limit. Right? Like seriously, they're usually like, "Hey, you got me for an hour."
Yep.
And that was never the case.
Yep.
And from that time to every time we've met, it's always been very open season.
Yep.
And there's been like no time restraints and stuff
That's
like
right.
that. And I never felt like you like set that weird expectations even in body language.
Right. No, absolutely not. Yeah. Or looking at the, keep tapping the phone.
Right.
Oh man. Oh, you got another question.
Right.
Or you know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
okay. No. So here's the thing. You cannot be an effective disciple maker and or mentor meeting with somebody once a month for an hour.
Right.
There's no way you're going to put you into them.
Right.
There's being a good disciple maker and being a good mentor
Right.
means that you have to give up time and proximity
Right.
and access.
Right.
You got to let them in.
Right.
You got to spend a lot of time with them, or else how are they going to have context? They're going to need to see how you operate. You can't just tell them. They got to see how this whole thing operates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And here's another thing, bro, that I want to add into it is expectation, right? So
Yes, sir.
for me as a person coming to you, I knew specifically what I wanted from you, right? I had a pastor. I had a spiritual father. I was coming to you because there was something about the way you walked out ministry, the pace that you walked out ministry, the way that you carried yourself, that I go, I want, because I was doing ministry, but I want to walk around like I don't have a care in the world, even though I got a lot of stuff going on,
Yep.
which I think you exemplified.
Yep.
So, and I also wanted to know, how do you transition well? Because in every transition that you made, and I watched it from afar. I saw Potter's House to Gateway to Embassy City, and which follows a very similar pattern to me 10 years later. The church I grew at to High Ridge, and then High Ridge to my next, which at that time we didn't know what the next was.
We didn't know it was
But
this.
I wanted to know, like, how do I transition well? How do I honor authority? Blah, blah, blah. So I was very specific about what I wanted from you.
Yep.
And you were very specific about like how you poured, because one thing you were good at is you didn't try to recreate yourself in little Timmy.
No, sir.
You just really helped me recognize who God's created me to be
That's exactly right.
and walk in that with confidence.
Yep.
And that's a big deal because
Yep.
I didn't come going, hey, how can I get a bigger platform?
Yep. No.
Or how can I get, how can I
fam.
get more preaching opportunities?
Nope.
And
Nope.
do you mind sharing your, any preaching opportunities that you resist? Like, can you hand me? I don't even know why I'm doing this voice. But
Biff
I
just got
feel
into
like-
ministry and he wants to know how to do well. That was Biff. That's Biff talking. I hear Biff.
You know what I'm saying, though, bro? Like, it wasn't based around a tangible thing that I thought you had,
Yeah.
like some platform that just shared, blah, blah, blah. It was like, no, how do I, man, Lord, his spiritual maturity and how he walks out ministry is beautiful to watch. Now I have access to this person.
Yep.
That's the first question I asked you.
Yep.
Bro, how do you like do as much as you've done, but remain in a posture where you're just calm?
Yeah.
And the first thing you ever told me, was the first conversation we had, was, I walk, I don't run.
That's correct.
And that started the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I'm so grateful we slowed down on this part because I'm glad that the basement is creating a hunger in people to be mentored and to be discipled.
Right.
But both the mentee and the mentor, the disciple maker and the disciple, they need to know what this looks like.
Right.
And this is not just a one-sided thing where there's a lot of great disciple makers out there and great mentors out there, and the mentees don't know what they're doing.
Right.
A lot of times the mentee and the disciple, they know exactly what they want.
Right.
And sometimes the mentors and the disciple makers suck.
Right.
Right. They don't
Right.
even know what to give, and they make it an obstacle course. and
Right.
They try to make you feel honored for being in their presence in some weird way. And
Right.
it gets really creepy. And then you got to before you know it, you thought you were getting discipled, but you just ironing his pants.
Right. With starch.
and you thought you were discipling
Yeah.
him, and you picking up his dry cleaning.
Right.
Like you thought you were a mentee, but you washing cars.
Right.
Like he Mr. Miyagi.
Right.
Right. And they swear that that's mentorship.
Right. Right.
That is a plantation owner. You serve Django.
Ooh.
That's who you serve. That's not a disciple maker.
You're right.
That when Jesus took his disciple, he gave them power to go do what he did.
Right. Right.
He wasn't like, I got to heal this weekend. Y'all go make me some fish.
Right.
Go pick up my robes from Lazarus's house.
Right.
Go get my donkey.
Right.
I don't feel like walking today.
That's right.
Did y'all water my donkey? Y'all got lunch for me?
Right.
No, you're a plantation owner.
Right.
You have new age slaves.
Right.
But you call them armor bearers. I'm gonna look straight in this camera.
Ooh. You better talk about it, bro.
Mm-hmm. You don't have armor bearers. You have slaves. And they're not learning how to become like Christ. They're learning how to become like you.
Ooh.
You're not making people into the image of Christ. You're making people into the image of you, because you're a demigod.
You better preach.
You're a demigod.
Uh-huh.
And you actually think that if they're like you, that they're like Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not.
Right.
You're just a slave owner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not even talking to the slave owners, because they won't watch this pod. So I'm talking to the slaves. Free yourself.
Yeah.
Free yourself.
Right.
Put on En Vogue. Free yourself. And the rest will follow. Ain't that the song? Free yourself, or free your mind. I think that's what it is. Free your mind. But no, I'm talking to the slaves. I know I'm not talking to the slave owners. Would turn me off, or make another pod to diss me, or
Right.
bring me up in a sermon, or talk about me without naming me. But
Right.
okay.
So on the 100th floor.
I'm on the 100th floor. So I'm trying to get thank you, Holy Spirit. I heard him through what you just said. So on that 100th floor, everybody had to pick up something from them
platinum.
trays.
That's right.
So I'm talking to the people in the bikinis and them Speedos. You're the slaves to the people on the 100th floor. And I'm telling you right now, you can drop that charger, get in that elevator,
hit B,
and press B.
Yep. Come down here.
Come down here. It's safer down here.
It's
I
safer
promise
down
you.
here.
I promise you.
And you'll be more of who God's created you to be.
That's exactly right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't have to come down here and wash my clothes.
No.
Tim Rivers has never washed my clothes.
No.
Tim
Never
Rivers,
picked up your dry cleaning.
You have never picked up my
Never
dry
washed
cleaning.
your car.
You've never washed my car. I can't even say it without laughing.
You know what I'm saying? These people out here doing this stuff.
This is not mentorship. It's servitude.
Right. Free labor.
It is free labor.
Right.
And they think it's a privilege. I let you in my house and you babysat my kids for 4 years and for free. But didn't you grow? I actually didn't grow.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a life.
Down.
And I couldn't date nobody.
Right.
And now I'm freaking 32 and nobody wants to date me because I was babysitting your kids all the time.
Yeah.
How come you didn't hire like a real nanny?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, how come you just wasn't home with your kids?
That's right.
You had to do that?
And why were you making passes at her?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't about the kids.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, Pastor. Yes, sir. I hear you, Pastor. Dude, no. So I'm really like, I feel that very strong.
Yeah.
I'm looking back in this camera again, and I'm telling all the slaves, you are not bound. Mm-hmm. You are not shackled.
Right.
That is not meant. Listen, some of y'all are serving some great men and women of God, and so this is not hitting you. But there's some of you, I'm talking to you right now. I'm looking you right in the face. I'm looking through this camera, and I'm talking to thousands of you. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, you're a slave.
Right.
That is not the construct that you need to be in. If this person has taken more from you than poured into you, you don't have a mentor.
Right.
You have a slave owner. If you have done more for them than they've done for you, you don't have a disciple maker. You have a dictator. And I'm telling you, you don't need to be a slave anymore.
Right.
I'm no longer a slave to them. I am a child of God. Like, just leave.
Right.
Do it respectfully. Like, don't go in there and be like, you a slave owner, Django. The devil is a lie. I hate you. I can't believe you had me in here washing your clothes.
My new mentor told me.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't get these people. I already got enough smoke coming my way, and I ain't scared of none of y'all, just so you know. I ain't scared. Ain't ever scared. Won't be scared. Because I will say this to your face. If you're a slave owner, I'd say it to your face.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of you. I'm really not. This is not like podcast courage. I've been doing this for a very long time.
Right.
And I just call a spade a spade. I do it diplomatically. I do it in a way that, but I'm not gonna lie to you. If you've been doing more than you've been receiving, this relationship, Tim couldn't do nothing for me.
Right.
I wasn't like trying to leverage Tim for,
right.
Oh yeah, I can get Tim to, he has a preaching gift. You never preached until this year.
That's right. Yeah.
So I wasn't trying to leverage. I'm like, if I can put the best of what is in me into you, you can pass me because you'll do greater works. You're younger and you ain't going to make the mistakes I made.
Right.
That's my true gift. My true gift is to mitigate stupidity.
Right.
So that we can maximize the greatness God's put in you.
Ooh, that's good.
That's my gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are, oh man, you mentor all these people, and I heard you did this for this person. You do this for, and behind the scenes, everybody keeps bringing up your name. What do? I help people not be stupid.
Right.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I help people not make dumb moves.
Right.
So they can maximize on the potential that God has put on the inside of them.
Right.
But if you don't listen, you're going to be dumb.
Right. And I will say this too, bro. Like, you have, even in all the, when we'd sit down and talk about things, and usually the way it started, like I would just go ahead and tell you, give you a life update.
Yep.
We'd recap our last meeting. Hey, man, I really appreciate that you said this. This is the outcome of that.
Yeah.
And then, hey, man, this is kind of what I'm dealing with now, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to get your wisdom. You would always say, and you were very specific about wording too. Obviously, you're a wordsmith, great communicator. But you would always say, hey, can I submit this to you? As the mentor, you submitted your advice.
Correct, I did. Yes,
to me.
sir.
You
Always.
wouldn't say, hey, so write this down, and I need you to do this exactly how I. No, it was always like, hey, let me submit this to you. And I think that was the beauty of our relationship, is because I've seen bad leadership. I've seen good leadership. But then I've also seen great leadership. And you have great leadership.
Thank you.
Because you never, like you said, you never required a certain behavior or a certain change, or if you were more like this, or if you did that. Our relationship was built on honor.
Yes, sir.
And trust.
Yes, sir.
And that's why this works, because it's always been about honor and trust.
That's exactly right. That's literally what our names mean.
Correct.
Our names mean honoring God and honored by God.
That's right.
It's one of the few names that has a dual meaning or reciprocal meaning.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful, because honestly, if there's no honor, so for me, like if you ask now, hey, Tim, could you do this for me? Hey, no sweat.
Yeah.
No sweat.
Yeah.
But it isn't because I wouldn't do it out of like, oh man, cowardice.
No.
I would do it out of honor.
Absolutely correct.
I would do it out of like, bro, like absolutely. I love you that much.
Absolutely.
And I know that you love me that much.
That's exactly right.
That, it's no problem.
That's exactly right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But those forced relationships where it's like,
that's,
shine my shoes.
Oh my God.
While I'm preaching.
Oh my God. Undress me after I preach.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother.
No, that happens.
Situation.
Oh, that happens.
Oh yeah. I think there's like two different types of undressing.
They
right?
stand there like they stand there like Iron Man.
Right.
Like when his suit is coming on.
Right.
But they stand like this, and it's like
Somebody else wiping the sweat.
like in like the Indy races,
Right.
when they bring the car in for a pit stop and
Right,
everybody
right.
comes around, they literally do that.
Right.
The dude be standing like this, and you got dudes taking off their cufflinks and they sweating and they patting them down.
Right, with the
Ugh, as they're disrobing them and patting them
Right.
down. Listen, there's some stuff only Juliet can do.
right.
Y'all out here sus. I'm sorry. Back in the camera. Some of y'all sus. Ain't that much honor in the world. Ain't nobody putting no
Right.
towel down your backside. Fool.
Right.
You got me twisted.
Exactly.
You got me twisted. You got me twisted. I'm going home with your back cheeks in my head and talking about I'm
no.
serving. This ain't no servitude. You nasty. You nasty.
servant,
And you
you
trying
servant.
to, and you nasty and you trying to desensitize them boys.
Right. Talk about it.
So that when you come in for the kill, they still think, oh, this is just the way my father loves
Yeah.
me. You're nasty. I'm telling you, you're nasty.
It's that smoke, bro. Mm-hmm. That's the basement.
Mm-hmm.
You get all the smoke down here.
Mm-hmm. 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 I know who you are.
Call them by name. No, just kidding. Say their name, bro. What's below the basement?
Oh my God. That is hilarious. Call him by name. No, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. Okay, Lord, no, we had to address
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think that this is encouragement for anybody that
This is that
wanted to
pie
get-
right here, y'all. This one right here.
Yeah.
This pie right here, though.
Right. Well, bro, I really feel like the way it started, right, is what brought us here. Our relationship, and I've told people this, obviously with the transition that's happening and stuff like that. People have asked me, like, oh man, like, so, like, how did this come about and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, or, how, I've heard Tim say that, he's going to have you as his pastor and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm like this, listen, my and Tim's relationship was established way before this.
Way before
This isn't something like y'all just get to see it now.
Right. That's big facts. Yes,
You know
sir.
what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But our hearts have been knitting
Absolutely.
together for a long time. Like, and it wasn't forced. It was, like I said, man, 2 or 3 years before I met you, the Lord already told me it was going to happen.
Yep.
You can't make that stuff
No, you
up.
can't, bro. You absolutely can't. Absolutely can't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so let me can I progress?
Yeah, for
Story?
sure. Absolutely.
This was the pivotal moment that I believe was the catalyst for everything happening. Like I said, the reason why I gave it kind of that context of how I left the previous church before High Ridge. It wasn't great, but I had no like bitterness. I felt like I had dealt with all of the church hurt and stuff. I was in a good place. And my wife and I, my dear sweet wife, Janice,
It's the homie,
whom
man.
I love
Sissy.
so much.
Love the
Beautiful, all the things. We're sitting there having a conversation at the kitchen table. This is like November of 2020. She goes, I think you need to call him. This was my previous pastor. And I go, where's that coming from? She said, I don't know, but I really feel like you need to. And I go, I'm not sure why you're bringing this up. Like, it's just kind of out of nowhere. Like, I have no angst. I have no, like, animosity toward him. Like, there's nothing, So I was like, you know what? I don't know. I was starting to get annoyed.
Yeah.
And not because my wife did anything. She just literally said, you made a comment.
Right,
So I was like, man,
right.
forget this. You're like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
So I went to bed, lay in bed. I started bawling, bro. Like, overcome with emotion, like crying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not, like, I'm an emotional guy. And I'm, sensitive and tenderhearted. Like, I'll cry easily.
Yeah.
But this was different.
Yeah.
I felt like a burden. So I
Yeah.
got up, went back to the kitchen. She's still sitting there. I'm like, For real. Tears coming. For real. Why did you say that?
Yeah.
Like, what prompted you?
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know. I just felt it. Now, the Lord uses Janice mightily
Yep.
in my life.
Yep.
Like just subtly, like she'll say something or whatever, and I've heard the Lord through her so many times. So I know that if she says something that, especially if it's out of the blue, I'm like, I'm paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where this comes into play. I came to you and I said, hey, bro, my wife thinks I need to go speak to my former pastor. But here, I don't feel anything. What do you think? And you said, you definitely have to do that. There's the only time where you told me I have to do something.
That's facts. That's
you
facts.
have to do it.
That's facts.
And that was, honestly,
that's facts.
Because you never are that, just
direct.
aggressive.
Yeah.
And you weren't aggressive, but you were direct. And I was
yeah.
like, okay. And then you gave me context why what I needed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave me what you called an accusation audit.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
So I got your advice. I got my pastor's advice, somebody else's advice. And the thing that you told me is, hey, if the Lord's asking you to do this, it's because he's about to change your season.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the catalyst to something, because right now you have no motivation. Like, you're not about to go plant a church.
Right.
You're not changing ministries.
Right.
If God's asking you out of the blue to do this, you have to be obedient to that.
Yep.
So I said, dope.
Yep.
I met with him.
Yep.
And bro, it was like a great meeting. Because I literally showed up and I go, hey, bro, like, I'm doing this out of obedience to the Lord. So there's 3 things I want to, and that you told me to do these 3 things.
Uh-huh.
There's 3 things I want to cover. Number 1, I want to thank you for all the years that you poured in me, for allowing a 13-year-old kid, right, to preach.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you can't make this stuff up. Like,
sure.
I have high respect for someone that allows that. And then secondly, if there's anything that I did in leaving, I want you to tell me so that I can make it right with you. And he's like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. I said, and the third thing is, when I left abruptly, I'm in the place that I'm supposed to be, but I never got your blessing, and you were my spiritual father. But I've operated knowing I had to leave home, but without a blessing. So we had a conversation, and then he ends up praying this amazing prayer of blessing where he 100% released me. And he prayed, he's like, God, from now on, I just release any kind of tie that I've had to Tim. Let him step into fully in ministry, fully as a man, leaving the home and everything of that. Bro, that's where it started.
Yes, sir.
Because from that moment, that January, the Lord told me, hey, get everything ready. We're in my current position to pass off to another person.
Yep.
And I'm not even going to tell you the next person is, just get ready.
Yep.
So I did that, and then November of 2021, which is wild because our stories relate. I had a conversation with my pastor and said, hey, they were considering me for a campus pastor position. And I said, I don't feel called to be a campus pastor. He said, well, what do you feel called to do? I said, I don't know. But the Lord wants me to release everything.
Yep.
And he's like, okay, well, we have to make something up. You told me 2 years before then that at some point your church probably had to make something up for you. What? So we made something up. And then I preached, in 2022.
March of 2022.
March of 2022, this year.
Yep.
And that was the first time I preached, which is, we've known each other for years now.
Yeah, absolutely.
First time you ever invited me to preach.
Yep.
And I was like pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Because it came out of nowhere. Because I never had an expectation for you to invite me to preach.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I never brought I never sent you a YouTube link. Was like, hey, check me out. You know what I'm saying? If you ever got an opening, hit me up.
Exactly, that part. No, for sure.
Or, hey, can you take an hour out of your day and listen to this message and then give me 5 pointers?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? That didn't happen.
Let me tell you. So none of that happened. I knew you were a great preacher based on the meetings we had. If I can hear the way a person thinks and the way they talk, I know if they can preach or not.
Right.
This is my sport.
Mm-hmm.
This is I communicate for a living. This is
Right.
what I do, right? So, man, I heard you speak. I heard you speak in our meetings, and I'm like, oh yeah, this dude can preach. And I had never thought about you coming to preach,
Right.
like, cause I don't have like a buddy system
Right.
with God's, because it's not my church.
Right.
First of all, that's number one.
Right.
Number two, it's not my platform.
Right.
It's not mine.
Right.
It's his, and he allows me to stand on it.
Right.
Okay. Noah built a boat for God
Right.
that he allowed Noah to walk into.
Mm.
It wasn't his boat
That's right.
because it wasn't his idea.
That's right.
Embassy City wasn't my idea.
Right.
So it can't be my platform.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It just so happens that I built a platform God let me stand on.
That's good.
Okay. So so I always pray, God, who do you want to speak?
Yeah.
And then God will bring somebody to my mind. And so in March of 2020, there was a Sunday I was going to be out, and Eunice asked me, who do you want to come preach? And I'm like, I need to go pray. And when I went to go pray, the Holy Spirit said, bring Tim.
Mm.
And it wasn't like I had heard a sermon from
Right.
a week earlier, like, man, it's kind of hot. Maybe he'll do that sermon here.
Right.
Out of the blue. It was out of the blue.
Right.
It was out of the blue to me. I'm like, oh, I think the Holy Spirit wants Tim to come.
Mm.
And Tim came, and I just remember the Holy Spirit saying, pay attention to him.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to him. And you preach your sermon. It was a great sermon. And obviously theologically sound, all that kind of stuff. But what I noticed is how the congregation laughed. And I hadn't heard the congregation laugh for anybody else like that.
Right. Wow.
Unless it was me.
Mm.
And I thought, that's what I noticed, and that's what took me by surprise,
Mm-hmm.
is how much God has used humor in my preaching
Right.
to communicate sometimes hard truths. Like,
Right,
I'm
right.
gonna have to pop you,
Right.
but let's laugh first.
Right, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then while we're like, "Gah, gah, gah, gah," pop, and you're like, "Gah, gah, 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 gah." Did he just? I think I just got spanked,
Right.
but I kind of liked it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So, I feel when I heard that, I'm like, oh wow, the laughter, and then that's when the Holy Spirit was like, "This is your successor."
Wow.
Okay. So I did like Jacob and Mary, and I pondered it in my heart,
Yeah.
and then without me having a conversation with Juliet, God told Juliet the same thing.
That's wild, bro.
And then by the time we talked, we both came back with your name.
Yeah. That's
And-
wild.
From there, because you go to High Ridge, and
Right.
Jeff is your lead pastor,
Right.
and you have been there 6 years.
That's right.
In order for me to have a conversation with you,
Mm-hmm.
I need to have a conversation with Jeff.
Right.
Because if I had a conversation with you without having a conversation with Jeff, it would have been tampering,
That's right.
right? In
Right.
the NBA, if you talk to a player
That's right.
under contract, you can get fined
Right.
by the commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
In the kingdom, if you talk to a person that's under authority to somebody else without talking to their authority,
Right.
you'll get fined
Right.
by the commissioner,
Mm-hmm.
by our king.
Right.
And let me tell you why that's so important. God asked Pharaoh to let his people go.
Mm.
Everybody thinks it's like a demand,
Right.
but it's not a demand.
No.
They were legally, I'm talking about spiritually,
Right.
like, because heaven is the most legal environment in the entire cosmos,
Right.
right? Our laws are cheap compared to the laws that govern heaven.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
So everything operates off of command and legality
Right.
in the kingdom, in any kingdom. But Pharaoh had legal right
Mm-hmm.
to the Israelites
Right.
on earth.
Right.
They were under a great Pharaoh then Scripture says in Exodus chapter number 1, there arose a Pharaoh that knew not the God
of Joseph.
Of Joseph.
That's right.
Right. So he inherits a people
Right.
that were under a blessing with one Pharaoh and now under a curse with another. Right.
Right.
And so he makes it very, very hard on them. Because God is the one that put man in charge of the earth, if he's going to come, he has to go talk to the rulers that are in charge. So that's why he gets Moses and says, please go back to Egypt and tell Pharaoh, let my people go. Let them go. Not give them up.
Right.
I demand, let my people go. They're my people, but they're under your authority. Please let them go.
Right.
And if you don't, it's just going to keep getting uncomfortable.
Right,
How come he just didn't kill him? Well, he's getting an opportunity. Why? I need your release. God needed Pharaoh's release to get his people back. That's how much he's placed authority in the earth for man and for woman. So he's literally like, okay, you can finally let him go. And then only when he gives that word, it took the death of the firstborn, right? But he gave the word, and that's when the people left.
Right.
So I couldn't talk to you without talking to Jeff.
Yeah. No, and I think that that to me was huge, right? Because obviously, God is the one that establishes lines of communication and authority. You know what I'm saying? And it's clear. I mean, you can see it all throughout the Bible.
Yeah.
Even with the example you're talking about with Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Reality is that Israel went in free.
Correct.
That's
right.
And they
That's
weren't
correct.
they weren't Israel.
That's right.
They were just the 12
Yeah,
sons.
yeah, absolutely. Like
Jacob.
72 people
That's
rolled
right.
down there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then over time they grew, and then the Egyptians started oppressing them.
That's correct.
It's just interesting to me that God he could have been like, no, they're for all along, like snatching them out and killing y'all.
Exactly right.
They're free.
Yeah, exactly.
But even God was like, you know what? I'm gonna go through the challenge of communication, even with wickedness, because the Bible even tells us that God is the one who sets up.
That's exactly right.
Authority.
That's right.
Even those that are wicked, He
right.
allows for them.
That's right.
To be an authority.
That's exactly right.
He allows for them.
That's right. He raises them up. He brings them down.
And so when you went to PJ, that was a huge deal because he is my spiritual oversight, right?
Correct.
So to have gone to have come directly to me would have been awkward for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not just
That
for PJ.
part.
It would have been awkward for me because then I go to him going, I know that this pastor's approached me. Now, can I say this, bro? The year before that did happen.
What?
I had somebody come to me, not about taking a whole church,
Yep.
but about a job opportunity.
Oh, yes.
Without talking to PJ.
Yep. I remember this. Yes, we talked about this.
And when we had this meeting, and this dude, and it was out of nowhere too.
Yep.
I was like, well, red flags, fam.
Yep.
Right? Because sound like you're poaching.
Yeah, bro.
And it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
I remember telling you.
Yeah.
Because, of course, I'm like, all right, I need to make sure this is not me just being overly sensitive.
Right.
Like to the order.
Yep.
Which is funny.
Yep.
So I remember telling you about it, and you said, I hear the Lord saying, step down. And I said, okay.
Stand down.
Stand down.
Stand down.
Stand down.
That was the word.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I heeded.
Yes, you did.
Because again, I was submitted.
That's right.
So I was like, okay, great.
Yep.
So the way you did it was the correct way.
Yeah. Well, and there was
biblical way.
Yeah. And there was no like I wasn't dropping hints. Mm-hmm. Like you had no idea.
Never.
It wasn't like I was like, hey man, if there was ever opportunity where you got freed up at High Ridge, bro, it would be dope to have you. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't like trying to warm it up or nothing. None of that. None of that. Never. I poker faced you because we met between the time the Lord told me and the time I talked to Jeff, we met.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you had preached there now a couple of times, and I'm calling you about it, and we're getting our time in. And
once.
Yeah.
I only preached for you once before we had the convo. I preached for you in March. And we talked like a week or two before the second time I came and preached.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And I didn't tell you nothing.
No, I didn't even know that the Lord had already spoken to you about your next season.
No. Nothing.
The only thing I knew is that when Janice and I came in March, on our drive home, we basically were like, yo, if God ever calls us to lead a church, it would be so dope if it was like embassy.
Wow.
We didn't say it, we hope it's embassy.
Right.
Because we didn't, in our minds, we didn't even think like, man,
for sure.
We were like,
that would have been
we
the
hope
furthest
it's
thing.
like the way it felt, the worship, diversity, just like I was immediately at home.
Yeah.
Even preaching, bro. Like,
Yeah.
It felt good.
No, I love it.
People even like heard the message, were like, man, you look like you felt at home.
Yeah.
I'm like, I did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't tell them that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and then that phone call happened.
No, man, it was, holding that was like, because I'm still processing, like, Lord, is this you? And then how's it going to work? And so I called Jeff and I'm like, man, can we meet? And he's like, yeah. What dates do you have available? And I'm like, tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. Right. Okay, this must be serious. So we went to Cheesecake Factory. I sat down with him and told him what I felt, and I submitted it to him.
That's right.
This is what I feel, and if you pray about it, let me know.
Right.
And he was like, well, you probably want to know really soon. I'm like, no, I don't.
Right.
If the Lord speaks to you, cool. If he doesn't, then maybe I had bad pizza.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can be wrong.
Right.
And I talked to him on a Friday. He talked to you on a Sunday. Blew my mind. I did not expect him to get back to you that fast. And then you called me on a Tuesday like, hello?
Right.
Like,
that's right.
What?
Right.
So from there, man, we just started talking.
That's right.
I just started sharing, here's what's on my heart. And you started sharing what's in your heart, but also the prophecies.
That's right.
That you have been given.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, so here's what's crazy. So I at the beginning of this year, I got this prophetic word from this lady in our church that, again, because I had it was fresh, hot off the press. Me telling my pastor last year in December that I didn't feel like God was calling me to be a campus pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So the next step was like, well, all right, what is God calling you into then? And we were still trying to sort that out. Well, I got this word from this lady, and she sent it to me through Facebook. Mm-hmm. She goes to our church, but I've never even, she doesn't know my life or she has no context, to give me a word.
Yeah.
She gives me this word. She goes, and it says, High Ridge was a springboard for you, but God's about to release you into the true ministry he's called you to.
Wow.
And don't be afraid. This is what God's prepared you for. And it's going to be a different platform and all this stuff, right? So I'm like this, though. I ain't about to tell my pastor.
Right. I don't know what that means.
This has been a springboard.
I'm about to go ahead and hit this swan dive, fam.
Right, exactly. So I was like, man, that's wild. So to me, I thought it meant okay, maybe I'll have some preaching opportunities, whatever. And it was just very specific, but it was from a person that I don't know. I know her, but we don't know each other that well for her to give me this, insider information type of word.
Yeah.
And so, I, at that point too, in February, I was handing off all of my responsibilities that I had for Next Gen. Mm-hmm. So I served as the executive pastor for Next Gen. So I was handing those over. Mm-hmm. So this is crazy, bro. Because the week that you called PJ, Pastor Jeff, you called him on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. That following Monday, we had already decided we're going to announce my transition out of Next Gen we made up a role called teaching pastor, right? So the whole staff was about to find out that I'm transitioning.
I didn't know this.
And you didn't know this.
I did not know this.
Nope. So you called him on Wednesday.
Yeah.
PJ is like, hey, Tim called me. Do you have any idea what he'd like to talk about? Because he knew we were in a relationship.
Yeah.
I go, no.
Yeah.
I have no. The last time we talked about me preaching. Yeah, we just did a follow-up on me preaching in March. He's like, oh, okay, cool. So then on Sunday, he calls me and Janice in the office. He goes, hey, Tim's approached me about approaching y'all about Embassy. But he still probably didn't have all the like facts and figures figured out. He's like, I just felt released by the Lord that I need to tell you all pretty quickly, so that the ball's in your court and you're free and clear to have any kind of conversations with Tim, which is important to me because I'm a man under authority.
Absolutely, for sure.
I live my life that way.
Me too.
So I was like, dope. So then Monday we make the announcement. Tuesday I call you. Wednesday we meet. Now, tell me why I walk in the office, Tim's green room. I give him context, right, from like my angle. I still am like, what does this actually mean? You go, all right, hey, I'm going to share with you, but hey, do you want to pull your phone out and record this? You know how many guys I've met with that would never say that? Because they don't want their first word to be on record. Because they're so unsure about what they're sharing, they don't want you to record it. Because they don't have resolve. Because they don't feel like the Lord's actually spoken to them. So as a caveat, I don't want you to actually, don't put me on record. Right? Am I lying, bro?
No, sir. You're right.
So when you said that, I was like, bet, fam. I pulled that joint up. I hit record. I checked the volume, made sure it was all the way up. I had the mic pointed towards you. I said, all right, man, let's go. And then you just begin to tell me everything, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to the point where you were like, hey, I'm, want you to come. I just feel impressed that the Lord's laid you on my heart.
Yep.
Want you to pray about it, but we'd like for you to come, be the lead pastor of Embassy City. This is what my role is going to be, blah, blah. So I go like this. Okay. Just to clarify, I said,
it's hilarious.
Now what I'm hearing you say is you feel like God's calling you to apostolic ministry. You said, yes. I said, and you're asking me to come be the lead pastor, lead elder of Embassy City. Mm-hmm. You said, yes. I said, okay. And your role, you're saying is you're making yourself available to serve as an apostolic elder, but you're not putting that in the contract as like this has to happen, and you don't want to be a bishop or the senior pastor. You're saying like, and you truly believe that God's going to continue to give me vision and blah, blah, blah. This is what you're saying. You said, yes. Bro, I almost fainted. Because I thought in that moment, like, is this real? Like, I'm pinching myself, right? Because it felt so God ordained, but I also, was like leaving room for some adjustments, right? And to me, it was a no-brainer that you're going to serve as an apostolic elder. Like in my head, like because guess what? You've already been that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to presume.
But you didn't presume. And that to me, bro, is so honorable because you truly held it with an open hand. And you said, hey, I want to make myself available, but only if you choose to. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, who does this? Seriously. We've seen transition, bro.
Yes, we have.
We've seen a lot of pastors do it, and one of the biggest problems is they don't start right.
No, they don't.
Right? And so, of course, I said, hey, bro, like, first of all, I'm honored and humbled, and man, it's just, and I truly believe in the will of God. You know what I mean? Like, and I felt like the Lord kind of prepared us for this season, but at the same time, like, all right, let me pray through it. So you said, hey, man, take your time. The elders are still talking about it as well, but you talk to Janice, y'all pray about it. And so when I went home, I said, all right, Janice, here you go. Click. And I just hit play. And what I loved about it, bro, was Janice didn't have to hear a second-hand account of this.
That's why I wanted you to record it.
Right.
Because I did not want Janice, I didn't want you to go home after like a 90-minute conversation.
Right.
And be like, and then he said this, and just trying to recap as much as I can remember. I'm
Correct.
like, you're married.
Right.
This affects Janice as much as it affects you.
Exactly.
Hit record.
Right.
That way, you know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we work as a team.
That's
And
right.
So it was awesome because we were able to sit down, and it was good for me too.
Yeah.
Because then I heard it for the second time, and we sat there and listened to it, and both of us were like, you know what I mean? Like, is this really happening? Like, is God really shifting all of this? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then the conversation started. You know, of course, I preached in April.
Yep.
And then May came. You had already asked me to come preach 5 weeks in July.
Yep.
For that month.
That's correct.
And so here's another thing that's wild, bro. Like, I also was scheduled to be on sabbatical this year. This was my sabbatical year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, bro, it works out perfect because we'll take sabbatical from May to June.
That's right.
Then when we come back, we can preach.
Yeah.
In that process, though, before we went to sabbatical, I was like, Lord, I think you spoke to me pretty specifically. Oh, I forgot to say. So I got that prophetic word
Mm-hmm.
in January.
Mm-hmm.
I also met with PJ
Mm-hmm.
in January.
Mm-hmm.
And we were having this meeting about, all right, what am I going to do, right? And the first thing he does is he says, hey, before we get started, I had a dream about you that I want to share. He said, in the dream, we were in a place, and it was a new place. He was like, there was a platform, and there was a diversity of people there, and it was a new crowd. It was packed out, and there was a guy preaching, a guy that we all know. And he looked at you, and he said, hey, won't you come up here on this platform and preach? And he said, you looked at me, and to go, hey, are you okay with this? And he said, I was like, yeah, I think this is it. And he said, you went on that platform. And then the preacher said, hey, why don't you just go on the road? Like, why don't you evangelize? And he said, you looked at me again, like, I don't think that's it. And I agreed with you. So we both agreed that God was leading you to a new platform with a group of people that was diverse. And it was going to be a new season, a new avenue of ministry for you. And you had my blessing.
Wow. That's dope.
Bro, this is before I came preached.
No, that's crazy.
And so
I don't even think it sounds like that's the first time I've heard that.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
even think you shared
Yeah.
that with me before.
Well, here's the funny thing. When I heard it, bro, I was like, I still was like, man, what does this mean?
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause
What
I
are
had
you
no
talking
context.
about? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What am I even? Yeah, exactly.
But it was after our combo. Then I'll look back at those two words, and I
Click.
was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yes.
Right.
Checkmate.
So then, I go to a meeting, and I'm asking God, all right, God, give me another one. You already gave me two, give me another one. This dude walks up, most unlikely dude, comes up, and he goes, the Lord has a word for you that he's about to take a dream that you've had, that you've put on a shelf, and he's about to take it out. And he's going to reveal it in high definition.
Mm.
He's like, you've had to go through a season where you had to put it up, but now it's time to take it off, because in the period of time that it was up, he goes, the technology wasn't ready for it, but now it is. And bro, he had no clue that we had this conversation. Like, he had no clue, right? So there's three, dude. And then you know about the third one, the fourth one.
The fourth one. The fourth one was
Yeah, that was
uncanny.
crazy.
So just to put that in the chronology. So all that was prior to you doing the 5 weeks.
That's right.
In July.
That's right.
I nominated you to the elders of Embassy City in May.
That's right.
Then we went on break and then we had June. We didn't meet.
Yeah, I was on sabbatical.
You were on sabbatical.
That's
That's what it was.
You were preaching
July, I was on sabbatical.
That's right.
And then you did all 5 sermons in July. I come back in August and they nominate you. Like, they confirm you as my successor.
That's right.
And then I went back to pray and asked the Lord, like, okay, you told me when to start, you got to tell me when to end.
Right.
And that's when he said December 31st of
Right.
2022. But in between the week of the confirmation, you got a word written on paper
Right.
on a Sunday
Right.
that I'm just boiling down the word to God said there's something urgent that's coming and he needs you to get in position.
That's right.
That was the gist of the word, right? On 2 pages.
That's right.
That happened on a Sunday. I met with the elders on a Thursday and confirmed you.
Right.
And 2 weeks later, that's when the Lord told me that December 31st will be my last day.
That's right.
So you had received 4 words.
That's right. Yeah,
from
and the fourth
Lord.
one was, it's coming sooner than you think.
It's coming sooner than you think. Absolutely.
And you're more ready than you think.
That's exactly right.
Because, again, we keep it real in the basement.
Yes, we
You know
do.
what I mean? So when Janice and I got this, when we heard about just the nomination, the invitation to come be leads here at Embassy City, of course you're excited. And I've done ministry long enough to know that God puts you in places often half-baked.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right? Because he's going to prepare you enough, and then while you're on the job, he's baking you some more. And I'm not afraid of that. I'm not intimidated by that at all. Because
that's how I started.
If God calls you to it, he'll get you through it. You know what I'm saying?
Bet you he will.
And he's not going to harm the sheep.
No, he won't.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
When people will be like, oh, I don't know. So, but it was good to have it in that word that, hey, you're more ready than you think.
Yeah,
and
it's
in
good.
the areas that you're not,
Yeah.
this is what it said. That's the areas that God will use the most.
That's exactly right.
But it is urgent that you get there.
That's right.
And she said there was a hand behind you that was pushing you.
Yeah. Gentle
That's right.
nudge forward.
Because initially we had talked about timelines.
Gentle shove.
Gentle
Those were-
shove,
That's
that's
were
right.
the exact words. Yes.
She said not harsh, but in a way of urgency.
Yeah.
We had talked about timelines before,
Yep.
and our possibilities. The timeline was timelines were like, all right, maybe I come on staff this October, and then the transition doesn't happen until next October. And before that meeting that you have with the elders, you asked, hey, give me an update on timeline, because we actually hadn't talked about timeline.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Since May.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I'm just submitting this to you, but Janice and I we feel completely released.
Yeah.
To step in, if the Lord wills it,
Yep.
and you all we're ready.
Yep.
And that wasn't us forcing anybody's hand or timelines. It
No,
was just
not at all.
Hey,
You were just saying.
that's
I'm-
right.
we
And that's
ready
when
now.
I said hey, and I got this word.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what ended up. Then the elders, you and the elders decided on a timeline too.
Yeah. So when I called you and we processed that, the only way I could describe it in a moment, I felt like the Holy Spirit told us to put the house up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were putting the house up for sale. But when you put a house up for sale, you're like, we're probably going to have a few showings and probably going to get into a bidding war and all that kind of stuff. I felt like the Holy Spirit was like, hey, put the house up for sale. And we were like, okay, cool. We're talking to the agent. The agent's the Holy Spirit, right? Hey, yeah, we're going to put the house up for sale. And the Holy Spirit's like, yeah, cool. There's a couple at the door. They want to buy the house. And I'm like, but we just said we're going to we just said we're going to sell it right now. What do you mean they're at the door? Yeah, they're at the door and they have a duffel bag in cash,
Right.
like the cartels.
Right,
You know what I mean? They
right.
want to buy the house right now. And I'm like, but we just put it up. And so I was so emotional. And I told you, I was
You
like,
did.
I am sensitive to the touch, sir. I was like, there is nothing wrong with what you just said. I'm not mad at what you just said. I'm glad you want the house.
Right.
I just feel some type of way that I didn't even call the movers yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's time to go. So it was so swift after that.
That's right.
The result, the resolution that the Holy Spirit said, 12/31/22, and it was a wrap from there.
Yeah.
And
I want to stop and say this, Tim, because that a lot of times, because we've been asked about how the transitions working and stuff like that. But one of the keys, I think, for us has been hot. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely
It's staying vulnerable, even to feelings
correct.
about how do we feel about this?
Yes,
'Cause
absolutely
I remember
correct.
sharing with you hey, this is the word I got, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And then it was after the meeting that we talked and you were like, hey, man, okay, now I got some context. This is how I felt.
Yep.
And I had to hold space for that, and be like, man, I'm here for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm here for you feeling that
That's
way.
exactly right.
And there's certain things that happened that I had to share with you how I felt.
That's right.
Okay.
And I had to hold space for that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And it's like both of us being submitted to the Lord, both
Yeah.
of us being humble, both of us. But man, for anyone that's going through transition, talk about them feelings too. not
That
just
part.
like the facts.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to try to like Holy Ghost some stuff and be like, well, no, the Lord said, so I got to get over it. Like,
no, don't put Jesus glitter on no feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
Even Jesus said, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me.
That's what he said, Pastor.
Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. But before he ever said, not my will, but thy will be done, he let us in on his fields.
That's exactly right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's okay to be like, hey, man, this is how I felt, but I'm definitely still submitted to the will of God.
That's exactly right.
And that creates a connection there.
That's right.
That exists between us. And that this is the stuff that it's not front facing.
Yeah.
But it has existed the whole time.
Absolutely.
We started communicating 5 times more.
Yes, we did. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And we still communicate a lot.
That's right. Absolutely.
We're talking, 3-4 times a week.
Yeah, that's right. Updates upon updates. Hey, how you feeling? Just wanted to check in. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm feeling. Here's what I'm gonna be preaching. No, it's we've kept it hot, and because of that, there's neither one of us has been surprised. Like, I didn't know you felt like that.
That's
you know what I mean? Nobody got on the hot mic talking about, man, this has been the worst season of my life. You're like, hey, bro, like I talked to you 17 times this week. How did I miss that? You know. But man, since that time, Juliet and I made the announcement on October 2nd, and then we fed everybody cake.
That's right. That's right.
And then October 9th, you and Janice were there, and we just invited y'all up.
That's right.
And I mean, what a difference 7 days make.
Wow.
I mean, standing ovation, both the 9 a.m. and the 11 a.m.
That's right.
And then this last week, the 16th, just the opportunity to be able to contextualize for them what the transfer zone looks like.
Yeah.
And now the next 4 weeks,
That's right.
you know what I mean? You get to speak to the house for the first time.
That's right.
As the lead pastor, leading us into the future. So, man, I'm just so proud of you, man.
Thank you, bro.
I'm so proud of you. The way that you have honored God through your lifetime is the reason why he trusts you now. I thought about something. When I transitioned from Potter's House, I was 35.
Yeah.
Bishop Jakes was 48.
Wow.
And here I am transitioning this church after 7 years. You're 35.
That's right.
And I'm 47.
That's crazy.
And it's just funny how the Lord can sometimes play with numbers and just remind you, like, hey, you know what? That transition might have that might have felt abrasive.
Right.
It might have felt really rocky. But I was preparing you then for now.
That's right.
If you couldn't leave the Potter's House at 35, you couldn't receive Tim Rivers at 35.
Wow.
If you allowed loyalty to a man to stop you from transitioning from the Potter's House at 35, you would make up an excuse as a man to remain in this post at 47.
Right.
So I'm not trivializing my transition from PH, but I will say that it felt like a trial run.
Right.
Because this transition has literally been the easiest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah, bro.
I promise you. Everybody's like, oh, bro, it's probably brutal.
Yeah.
Nope, it's not been brutal at all.
Right.
Man, I know that thing had to hurt. No, it doesn't hurt.
Right. Exactly.
And you gonna stay at the church? Yeah, I'm staying at the church.
Right.
Are you pastor emeritus? No.
Right.
I didn't found a seminary.
Right.
Built his church.
Right.
I'm the founding pastor.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I think that some people, they see the kind of the transition and from a distance, and hopefully I can, from my perspective, bring a little bit of context to some of the, is this really how they feel in private? And this is really the conversation they have in back rooms. Let me tell y'all something. Let me look in the camera. Tim Ross is one of the most honorable, honest, transparent, vulnerable man of character that you will ever meet. And I've been blessed to preach for a lot of pastors and been in a lot of churches. But the way you've handled this transition, bro, I can step into it, but it would be hard for me to step into it and receive it if you weren't releasing it in the way that you are. Right? Because it's twofold. There's a release and there's a reception.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have handled this transition in such a way where it's always been pointing to the Father.
Yeah.
You've never once, one of the things that impresses me the most is you've never said, I chose you. You've always, the wording you've always used is God chose you.
That's correct, because he did.
God chose you. God chose you. You've always allowed it to be a work of the Spirit.
Absolutely.
And the recording that we have, right, for the first time we met, you haven't deviated one word, one moment, one sentence from the first conversation we had. You stayed true to what you've said.
Yeah.
You've been obedient to the Lord. Like, you've submitted yourself to the Lord. Like, and all those things. That's why when people are like, is he going to stay at the church? I'm like, fam, yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if this was a bad relationship.
Yeah, exactly. You
then
would change the locks as soon as I drove off the parking lot.
Correct. You know, it's like, what a joy it is for brethren to dwell together
In unity.
In
That's
unity.
right.
That
Yeah.
is the will of God.
That's right.
Transition's not supposed to be hard. And it's funny, like, we've talked to some advisors, that are like, this is cake and ice cream. Like, this is rare. And it's like, it shouldn't be.
It should not be rare.
It should not be rare. This
No,
is
it
the way it
shouldn't.
should happen.
It should happen like
that
this.
there is honor.
Yeah.
That there is confidence in God.
Yeah.
That there is excitement.
Yeah.
That there's joy. Like, this when you preached this past weekend and you laid your hand on my shoulder and
Yeah.
when you spoke over me and everything that's been done in front of the congregation. This is all stuff, folks, that's been happening
That's right.
in settings like this.
That's exactly right.
Like, this
That's
is
exactly right.
Just now, more people get to see what's already been happening.
That's right.
And so I want to honor you, Tim.
Thank you.
I love you, bro.
I love you too.
And I thank you so much for trusting the Lord and for trusting me and for investing time in me and your wisdom and all of that. And you did it selflessly, man. You did it as unto the Lord. And, I will continue to, Janice and I will continue to just build upon the foundation that you and Juliet have set.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For Embassy. And I'm going to preach about that because the Lord even told me, like, the first thing you preach, we're in a season and we're in a series called
Change
is Coming.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said the first message you preach is, this little preview if you're going to watch this, is something's never changed.
That's right. So dope. So fire. Some things never change.
Something's never changed.
That's right.
And I honor you, man.
Thank you.
I love you, bro.
I love you too.
Man, I look forward to years and years and years and years of ministry, our kids growing up together, and the promise that we make, Janice and I make, to you and to Embassy, is that we will continue to follow the Lord as he leads us into more.
Absolutely.
He's already done amazing things, and we just are so excited and humbled and honored to get to continue that.
Absolutely.
And you've been able to just, man, put wind under our sails, on our sails to, like, just help push us forward. Man, that's so amazing, bro.
Thank you, man. Let me say a couple of things before we close. Number one, I love you.
Love you too.
I'm super proud of you.
Thank you, bro.
I'm very pleased with you.
Thank you.
I couldn't be happier that God chose you.
Mm.
If I would have chosen you, you'd be obligated to me.
That's right.
But because God chose you,
Mm-hmm.
you're obligated to him.
That's good.
And a lot of people like to choose their replacement because they want to control their replacement.
Right.
But since God chose you, you're obligated to him, even if that means he tells you to do something different than what he told me to do.
Right.
And so, and I've already told you I'm here to support whatever you do. The foundation's been laid. You're building on that foundation. But if you want to change all the colors to deep purple,
right,
you know, whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just paint.
Royalty.
It's royalty. I'm weak. But I a couple of things that I can say up front before you even preach your first sermon as the lead pastor. You are 10 times better as a pastor than I was ever going to be. Ever. And that's not self-deprecation. That's just calling a spade a spade. I'm a builder. That's my thing. I'm a breaker. I come in and break it up. But in terms of pastoral leadership, shepherding, you're 10 times better as a pastor than I'll ever be. And so I'm grateful that the church had the patience for the first 7 years to deal with a guy who was most times 60% apostolic and 40% pastoral, you know, until their good shepherd came. And so you're a better pastor than I am. The church under your leadership numerically is going to bust. Mark my words. In the same way you got that recording on there, we got this recording. The church is going to bust numerically under your leadership. And we had to pay that building off so that you would have a leveraging chip for wherever God takes us next.
You're going to make me emotional, bro.
Well, it's the truth. It's the truth. And I told Eunice earlier today, you know, because we're going to take a break in the new year. I just need to sleep and figure out what our new normal is.
Right.
But when I come back, we've never been in a church that we haven't served in.
Right.
It's never happened. But my role when I come back as an ambassador, I just want to be a greeter. That's what I want to do. I want to door greet.
That's awesome.
Because when I was in youth ministry and I didn't have my credentials, I think you know this story. The pastor told me I couldn't preach my little sermonettes no more.
Right.
And then he made me the door greeter. He was like, you got to greet at the door, not preach at the door, but you got to greet at the door until you finish getting your credentials. And it just made me understand I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of God.
Yeah.
In a new way. I just have a fresh lens on it.
Right.
And I just feel like the next season for Embassy City eclipses anything I ever did in 7 years. And that's the way it should be. Yeah. Jesus told his disciples, greater work shall you do.
Right.
You've been a great mentee. I've put the best of me into you, and you've got it earlier than when I had it.
Right.
You got to be greater. Right? And so break the records, man. Break all the records. I hope you run up the score in points, assists, rebounds, steals, every category. Right. Have a triple-double every night. Have a quadruple-double every night.
Right.
I love you. And, man, what happens next is going to be like the most upsetting chapter of Embassy's history, which seems appropriate.
Right.
Seems very appropriate.
Right.
So,
man, I'm humble. I'm excited. I'm honored, you know, and I think the great part about all of this is that for Janice and I, because people have asked us, man, are you nervous? Are you know, about, and I mean, you deal with your own feelings. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Like, I mean, this is new territory. Like, you know, we've dealt with spiritual attack and all that already for sure in our family. And, and you know, there are times where you're like, oh,
welcome.
Lord, are you sure? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. But the thing that I love walking into that is that we have good coverage.
Yes, you
You
do.
know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like,
you do.
I love walking in having two men that have been the most instrumental in my life over the last 6 years in helping me process through life, become a better husband,
Yep.
become a better pastor, become a better friend.
Yep.
And that's you and my pastor.
Yep.
And having you all as apostolic elders, which is biblical.
Yep.
It's like, bro, like honestly almost feel, I know I'm not invincible,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm covered.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm covered, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously
we're
covered.
we're not walking in on our own.
Nope.
It's like, you know, I'm gonna call this number real quick.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's exactly right.
and I know that the Lord was, you know, He's going to give vision, He's going to
Yeah,
give direction, and
for
all
sure.
that stuff. But man, just having the ability, and you can expect that Moses and Joshua, right? Like, how much greater would it have been for Joshua if Moses was still alive? You know what I mean? And we understand the divine sovereignty of God. and
Absolutely.
how He worked that out.
Yeah.
But to have that access, man, like,
Absolutely.
we are so honored, so excited, so blessed, bro. Like, I wrote the other day, like, if I could wrap it up into one word, it would be overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Not overwhelmed in like anxiousness, but
Yeah.
overwhelmed by the grace, the love, the goodness, the unmerited favor of God.
Dude, let me tell you how we're twinning in that area. That's the word that I've used with Hector and Sam more than any other word when it comes to the
What?
Yeah, literally when it comes to the basement. This is the most overwhelming thing that I've ever been through in my life. So for me to feel that way stepping out and for you to feel that way stepping in is like
That's unbelievable.
you couldn't.
You didn't tell me that before the podcast.
No, I
In case
didn't.
people wondering.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, literally, I didn't know you were
That's
going to say
wild.
that,
Yeah.
but like literally that's been my word.
Yeah.
It's just overwhelming.
Yes.
And it's the most beautiful way to be overwhelmed.
That's right.
You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
It doesn't feel like a burden. It just
Right.
feels it's the most overwhelming blessing that's ever happened.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, you know, people are like, are you losing sleep? No, fam.
No.
I've not lost any sleep.
No. I'm not losing sleep.
Like,
I'm not losing
it's just
sleep.
overwhelmed by the
Yeah.
goodness of God.
Yeah. Let me tell you how much I'm not losing sleep. I stay up longer just thinking about how awesome God is.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
going to sleep at like 4 and 5 o'clock in the
Right,
morning.
right,
Cause
right.
I'm like, what's on your mind? Just how awesome he is.
Right.
You trying to
The
figure
goodness of
something out?
God.
Nope. I ain't
Right.
figuring nothing out, but I'm sending emails to them at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And what's creepy is that they're responding.
We're awake too.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay.
Y'all the other type of overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
yet.
So it's just been an incredible blessing,
Yeah.
and I know that again what happens next is I just love the fact because a lot of times that doesn't happen in transitions.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
like one person is stepping into a blessing and the other one feels like they're stepping into a curse.
Right.
Like, well, I guess my season's done. I guess I'll go home and die.
Right.
Don't nobody want to hear from me no more.
Right.
I'm glad that he didn't ask me to do this when I was 67.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Well,
you responded to his you responded to his timing.
absolutely.
So, you know, I'm finishing my my doctorate, and my track is church revitalization. And one of the things that we study is church revitalization, like churches that need to be revitalized. The number one reason for churches needing to be revitalized is the pastor overstaying his timing. Number one reason. It ain't the music, it ain't the programs, it ain't all that.
It's the leader.
It's the leader. The leader sets the pace, right? And most churches, and this is statistically true, most churches, they kind of have a life cycle, right?
Yep.
They go up, and it's in the ascent that transition should happen. But generally what happens is it should happen. The pastor's like, no, things are going great. Then it goes into plateau and then starts coming down. Don't quote me on the percentages, but it's a very high percentage that once the church has crested over the plateau and they're headed down. That's usually when succession happens, replacement.
Yep.
Right? The church never recovers.
What? So they don't even have to hit rock bottom?
That's right.
The moment it starts the downward trend, they can't even.
That's right. Yeah. When it comes to succession, again, like it's a high percentage.
Correct.
Like some still do.
Yeah, for sure. But
the high
it's
percentage,
a very low percentage.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Way more than half.
Yeah.
Once you pass that mark,
Yep.
it's a decline. And so this is where you see like churches having to rebrand and find a new building and like replant their church and stuff like that.
Yep.
And what I love about what you're doing is you're allowing God, right, to dictate your timing.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is why I believe in faith with you that Embassy is going to continue to see great growth. And there's going to be a time when God's going to move us.
Yes, absolutely.
And guess what?
Yep.
We plan on when God says it's our time, whenever that is, fam, it is our time.
Exactly.
And I've seen the example.
Yes, exactly. We got a blueprint already.
We got a blueprint.
Yeah, we know how to do this.
Fam, let's go back and let's listen to the recording.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And do that again.
That's right.
Wow. Dude, yo, let me tell you something. Hector and Sammy, I probably never said this before. This pod is Soundbite City. I promise you. This pod is Soundbite City. It's the most notes you've ever taken. Holy cow. Yes, sir. No, dude. I mean, literally, I'm just sitting here and I'm like, this is Soundbite City. This is going to be the gift that keeps on giving. Are you kidding me?
Bro, I'm honored to be in the basement. Well, on camera. I've been in the basement.
Yeah, you've been in the basement already.
I got a cot, bro.
Yeah,
I got a cot down here, fam.
Exactly.
I'm like,
exactly. You got a pull out couch you've been sleeping on down here.
I've got blankets and pillows down here. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I'm like looking at people like, oh, hey, welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
First time.
When did you get down here?
Right.
So, okay, listen. This is Soundbite City. Listen, we are celebrating. Y'all give it up for all of my people that dwell with us live in our premiere. Listen, we love you guys. Tim Rivers is the new lead pastor of Embassy City Church. We are stepping into an incredible season. Juliet and I are elated to have him and Janice leading us into the future. And, man, as a result, like we get to finish this year strong. Yeah. But January 1st, Tim is the leader. Okay. I am completely off the radar for a while. And that's because we just want to reset. Like we want to like have a sabbatical, like at least 90 days to just like I just want to see my wife in a bikini, if I'm being honest. It probably ain't really spiritual, but
do you think it is spiritual?
It is spiritual. Just
make it spiritual.
Want to see those cheeks at their peak. Want to see that bronze bottom. In Jesus' name. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. That's the marriage pod. Let me stop. Stop. Trying to see that booty on that ocean duty.
Where's Juliet? It's time for her to take my spot.
We need to just bleed. We need to just have a 7-hour podcast. Jew, just come and join. Yeah. Tim, okay, thank you for your time.
Not these bronze bottoms.
Hey, y'all, we love you guys so much. And did I not? Oh, that's a pillar. We love y'all so much. Hopefully, you got something from this. If nothing else, let me tell you something. If you don't know how to be mentored now, if you don't know it by now, you will never know. Ooh. You ain't gonna know how to be mentored. If you don't know how to be a mentor by now, after listening to this one,
right?
You don't have it in you, fam.
Right.
And if you're a slave owner, you now know it.
Yes.
And if you're a slave, you now know it.
Get free.
That's how we're ending the pod.
Get free.
On slavery. We love you guys. See you later. Peace.